Hello and welcome to the Inbetween podcast. I'm user host Joe Score and I'm joined here by Tony Tones at RT. How are you, Tony?
Doing well, thank you.
The stream should be very enhanced today.
I
I'm
mean,
streaming through the OBS enhanced broadcast beta right now. I
I
signed up
clicked
to
the
that.
watch now. I can't. I don't know. It just says like the end at the moment for me.
Yeah, just refresh it.
Just refresh through.
Just
Okay,
press
okay.
F5 and it'll load the
Is that a
stream.
bug?
If you're
Oh,
too
there we
close to
go.
when the stream's starting, you click watch now. Sometimes it'll just show you an offline screen. It's just a Twitch thing.
Right. Okay, so I have options of yeah,
So
160p.
yeah, that's the watch me in one. Is it 160p 60? Is that like the?
No, it's 30.
Okay. I was gonna say
It's
that would
only
be
60 when you get to
something.
720.
So for the longest time, I've only been able to stream in one quality, which is native
Yes.
quality, because I'm not a Twitch partner. But with the new Twitch broadcasting beta, currently
Oh my god.
it's limited to 1080p 60. So for the most part, it should look exactly the same as it
Yeah.
normally does, but I will have access. You should have access to like 720p, 480p. You can change around the settings because I'm sending out 5 encodes at the same time of different quality streams, and then you can switch between them.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like 160p is a meme. I don't see how this is usable for anything.
If you're in on like a mobile connection and it's like an audio
Right.
podcast, and you have like a mobile
Right.
connection in like a very poor internet area, 160p.
So it's audio only, effectively.
Yeah, unless you're watching something that
Okay.
just doesn't require
Because
picture.
genuinely, it's like you're very, I guess, long-sighted. You haven't got your glasses on. That's what it looks like. I can barely see that you're on a Star Trek bridge with this quality.
With the Twitch enhanced broadcast mode, eventually they'll add options for 1440p, 4K, 120 hertz. Basically, higher quality than we currently have by adding the encoding of multiple streams onto the streamer's end, which I have no idea how much this is going to affect, how much data I have to send, how much processing is being done on my computer. It's fine for me because I'm not playing a game. I'm just doing a podcast, but we'll have to see like somebody who's like a big game streamer and doesn't have the most powerful PC. We'll see how this affects performance.
Yeah, but I assume that if you're a big person, that you're gonna have a decent PC and a decent connection. But maybe that's not true.
I'm most interested to see when they update this and add stuff like 4K streaming, because I think that would be really nice. And also AV1 is going to be really cool to see as well. Maybe
the bandwidth.
These guys over at YouTube let you stream in HDR. Maybe we can have HDR streams on Twitch. That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, but those guys at YouTube are crazy. So.
Yeah. As someone with a 4K 240 hertz HDR monitor, I want to stream more stuff on this in the native quality, but I'm just limited by what I can do at the moment. So I'm interested to see the future, and I am officially enhanced.
Yeah, I think if they're going to do a test, I think doing like lower end stuff makes a lot of sense because now this just makes it more accessible.
Well, before you would send one stream to Twitch, and they would take that stream encode and they would encode it themselves into multiple qualities if you were a partner. But now, before you would send one, and then they would send out one on their end. Now you're sending 5 different ones, and the broadcasting bet, you don't have to do any options. It basically just figures out your internet connection and goes, oh, here's your hardware specs. These are the best settings for each of these qualities. Basically, so I haven't had to set anything. I literally copied over my scenes and settings from my old OBS, dumped them into this beta one, and I'm just live. Everything's just normal. So if it's this easy when they do the full release and they've got all of the options and 4K and stuff, I think it's going to be a game changer for streaming on Twitch. I think it's
with AV1
really cool.
on top of that as well. I think it'd be massive from data bandwidth with that. Yeah, it'd be great.
But this week, Tony, we've got coming up Battle Royale World of Warcraft. Dark Souls 2 has got 120 FPS support through mods. The Riot
Oh,
MMO
those
has
mods.
the Riot MMO has been reset. When the hell will we see the Riot MMO? Nobody knows. And we also have a bunch of game announcements for the future game shows. What were you interested in the news
I
this week?
just said that speaking of mods, finally mods for City Skylines 2, but not
Yeah,
quite beta.
I
no
forgot
beta.
to add it to the document. I was looking at my phone just a second ago. Apparently, a DLC just came out for City Skylines 2. And it's got
Yes.
very bad reviews. People are not happy about it.
I will I will talk about it at the same time. The
Okay.
video I watched on it. I have a couple videos actually. Yeah, talks about it and that I some
Who would have thunk
funny
people aren't
but
enjoying
maybe
that
true
City
comments.
Skylines 2?
Yeah.
Anyway, so the games I've been playing this week, Tony, I've been playing Hades on iOS because Netflix subscription now allows you to play Hades on your mobile phone, but only on iOS. There is no plans for an Android version. I guess because with iOS you have like a really walled garden. You can only support these phones, and then Android you have like a billion different phones. The Tenebrous Somnia demo, which we'll talk about the future game show trailer. I've played the demo. It's that weird pixel point and click game that turns into an FMV film.
Right. Yeah.
Citizen Sleeper, which we just did a spotlight on, so that will be out if you want to know more about Citizen Sleeper, but I can talk about that if you're interested. Playing more Balatro, Tony. I've almost completed the game. You know, I've collected most of the cards. I've yet to be. I'm an orange stake. I'm an orange stake difficulty. I'm trying to unlock the final deck.
Right.
I've almost got the hardest difficulty, but it gets so tough at that difficulty. I almost won, and then the final blind was very large boss blind, and I was like, well, I guess I just lose. And then on Games Pass, Tony, I'm right at the end of Persona 3 Reload. I keep every conversation I have with you, I keep saying I'm right at the end. It's like, 35 hours in, I must be about halfway. I'm 55 hours in, I'm like right at the end. I'm 65 hours in, I'm right at the end. I'm currently 72 hours into Persona 3 Reload. I must be right at the end of that game. I must be. I've been playing more Warhammer Bolt Gun, and I also played and completed a game, Bluey the video game. You remember I was talking about it right at the end of the year? I was like, this is going to be the game of 2023. I've played Bluey the video game. Maybe we'll do a tangerine on it, but it's quite a short game. I think it took me about 57 minutes
Bluey,
to complete it.
The show? It's the actual show called?
Bluey. The show's called Bluey.
Just Bluey, then no like sub.
No, it's just called Bluey, yeah.
Okay, just called Bluey, right.
It's about, they all have dog names. There's Bluey, Bingo, Muffin, there's Mum and Dad.
These are dog names?
I think one of them's called Spot. Yeah, these are like very like...
That's a dog name. Spot's a dog name, yeah.
Okay. You don't think Bingo or Bluey are dog names?
Not really, no. I don't know what counts as a dog name, but I don't know.
I've given you a list of games to pick one from where I have a minute to talk about.
Probably, okay. We've already talked about Retro, and I feel like we Citizen slept.
You'll say wait for the spotlight.
Yeah, spoilers.
Yeah.
So you played more Warhammer Bolt Gun, so you haven't completed it though?
I haven't completed it, no. I've just played a little bit.
Right. Okay.
I think what I've played up to is what I talked about in the Tangerine video we did. I haven't played too much of it. I'm going to complete it, but there's this game called Persona 3 Reload I'm playing, and I'm just about to finish it.
You're just the critical path that short game. I don't know, I guess, what's it called? Tenebrous
Somnia demo.
Yeah, that's why I don't know anything about that one. So what?
Oh God.
Wait, Tenebrous. Is that the that's the Jean-Luc Picard
FMV game? Engage. I've got some footage of it actually.
Okay.
And the footage is fucked up, and I didn't realize. And I also have no audio. So I was like,
okay.
Well, I didn't set my the OBS audio capture beta thing to capture the audio, and I forgot to mute my microphone and my my desktop audio, so it's just got me talking to people on Discord on the actual audio footage anyway.
Right.
But this is the game. I'm probably not going to do a tangerine on this because the footage is fucked up and I don't have too much to say on it. And we can talk about it, the demo and stuff like that anyway, a bit later. But my initial thoughts are, Tony, I've said I generally, when you see our tangerine on Sea of Thieves and Monkey Island, and what was the other game we were talking about? It was Sea of Thieves, Monkey Island, and Clown Meat.
That's it, yes.
I played the demo for Clown Meat, and if you're interested in what the fuck Clown Meat is, you can wait and find out. I said I'm not really a big fan of point and click games generally.
Yeah.
But I'm not against the. I don't like to say I'm not a fan of a certain genre because then I'm like putting out so many potentially good games. But I played this.
Yeah.
And I shit you not, I was streaming it on Discord to other people, and I was like, I spent half an hour running around, just clicking everything, and I had no idea what to do. I was so confused.
So that's like the bad.
And then I got to a point where I literally had to look up a video on what to do, and I was like, how does that make any sense? I was just like, okay. Yeah. So I had played this. I thought the I'll show the FMV stuff because that was the stuff I thought was really cool. But the point and click stuff, I was like, not really for me, you know. Oh, here's me figuring out halfway through that the video perspective was broken because it's in like 720p.
The bad part of point is just like the obtuse. Well, not all point do, but the majority do. Like really obtuse solutions to puzzles or to how to progress. So,
I'm not against like
find these two things.
Horror elements with puzzle stuff because my favorite game of last year was Homebody, and that's essentially a zero combat puzzle game. Like that is the core of the game.
It's not.
But this
it's not the theme of the puzzle. It's just like it's the difficulty and the way that the puzzles come together. It's just like yes, you need to combine these two things. You have to find this thing. You didn't know that these things existed. There's no inclination of how to get that's what I don't like. But I still like point and click. But most of them have that quality.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that for some reason, I think it makes it scarier when you go from like that pixel art to suddenly just the FMV and you're like, oh god, this is real life. And it's cool because as you walk around the pixel art environments, you get to get an idea of the layout of the house, and then you get to see the actual layout of the house, and it's exactly the same. So it's like it takes the idea of this room does not exist. This is a video game, and it goes, wait a minute, this is like one for one a real place that exists, and I think that adds to the actual horror aspect of it, right? Where it's like oh god, this is actually like happening, sort of thing. Like I'll show you quickly. So you go here, it's like this is the exact same layout as it was inside of the pixel art game, to a point where I think that bookcase 3D edited in as a asset.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just trying to think.
It moved kind of weirdly when the camera panned, and I couldn't tell if the bookcase was actually there. I was like, it's a weird thing to 3D put in, but maybe they didn't have a bookcase in their house.
All they're doing is so weird with.
But then it goes, oh god, FMV, and then you're back to pixel art. I was like, this part of the game was really good and was really intriguing. But the problem was, I spent like half an hour just running around clicking on everything, going, oh god, I have no fucking idea what to do. This is so frustrating. So I feel like this game is probably going to be one where it's better watched than played for most people, unless you're really into point and click games. But I do think the concept is really cool. So there you go. There's
again brought down by obtuse solutions, which
again, I'm not a point and click player, so it could just be me. Like I played, I love New Blood, and I played Mortis. What's that game? Faith, the Unholy Trinity, and I was not a big fan of that based on the demo I played. So because that's mostly like a horror point and click thing. So yeah. There's that. But let's get into trailers, and we'll start with the one I alluded to in the intro, Plunderstorm. Tony, World of Warcraft just came out with a pirate battle royale game. I shit you not. And
it's not April Fool's.
No, so it's you need a WoW sub to play it, but it's a separate launcher from it within Retail WoW, and it's a completely separate game sort of thing. So basically, how it works is it's in beta at the moment, and you pick a character and you drop into a closed-off area, and you level up by gaining gold and killing mobs, which gives you XP. So there is like a PvE element to it. And as you kill them, they drop spells. And if you get copies of the same spell, it upgrades them. So there's like a normal spell, and a green spell, a blue spell, an epic spell. And then you're just trying to level up. I think max level is level 10. So it's this weird mix of like PvP and PvE inside a Battle Royale. And then there's a storm that slowly comes and pushes you in, and then you have to fight until there's only one person or one team left. Currently, it's only solos or duos. I've been watching a lot of people stream this on Twitch, and it looks insanely fun. I think if it didn't require the WoW sub, I would probably try this out. I think they're missing
if you buy it like a small purchase or something.
No, I think they should just make it not require the WoW sub. I think they should just make it free to play, and then I think what's gonna happen is people are gonna play this and they're gonna go, "Oh, this is interesting. How do I play more of this?" And they're gonna go, "Oh, I want some more of this like spell splinging PvE stuff or PvP stuff," and then that will naturally get them into something like retail. Like I think they recently announced retail WoW has like 7 million WoW subscribers are 7 million, because that's part Dragonflight being a pretty decent expansion, and then also an insane amount of people wanting to play classic WoW again with hardcore classic WoW and Season of Discovery. But yeah, I think WoW is coming back in a lot of ways, like in terms of popularity, and I think. Look, this Battle Royale thing may be dead in like a couple of months, right? But right now it's very popular and it looks really fun. And I would like to try it, but I'm not going to subscribe to World of Warcraft for a month just to play this, because I don't really have any interest in going back and playing retail right now. And I don't really have any interest in playing classic right now. It's like, do you think they would ever add... I have Games Pass. You know, there's Activision Blizzard companies. They would. I don't think they would ever put the WoW subscription on Games Pass.
I think it makes financial sense, because I think it's just you play all the games
could they add like Plunderstorm to Games Pass? Wouldn't that be interesting?
Make sense. That would make sense. I think they should do that. I could see that. Someone should tweet them and tweet at them. Is that a verb? Someone should tweet them and
at Bobby Kotick. Sorry, he's not there anymore.
Just say Phil Spencer. He'll do it.
I think Phil Spencer has like grand ideas, but he doesn't like whether we actually get to see them. We'll have to wait and see. You know?
No, but he at least has like the phone numbers of people who could do it.
Yeah.
Whether it will happen or not, I don't know.
But Plunderstorm, if you're a current WoW subscriber, you can play this. If you're not, you can watch other people stream it on Twitch. Next up, we have Sea of Stars is getting a official third-person local co-op mode. So I guess each player will get to play as one of the party members, sort of thing, which I think is a cool way to do it.
Is this the shortest trailer ever?
Yeah, it's like 8 seconds long. It's a teaser trailer.
Okay.
It's called Single Player Plus.
Right. Oh, I like that. Like making, even if it's like a compromise, like having that sort of option is still nice, absolutely.
So it seems like you're kind of free to move around separately. It's like one player goes off and grabs plants, another one is locked in. But you're kind of locked to one screen where one player goes off the screen. It's the like Mario like bubble pulls them in, but like you cannot go that far away from each other. It's not like full co-op sort of thing.
Yeah, I think unless you have like full support, like where people just get like really far away from each other, you have to wait for them to come back. I feel like I'd be better for this sort of game.
I mean, I'm just thinking because it's local co-op only, so I think your options will be Steam Remote Play through Steam if you have the Steam version. You play on Steam Deck if you have it on the Steam version as well for local co-op. That may be what I would do if I had this game. This game's on Game Pass, right? So I could technically local co-op it on my PC if I wanted to try that out. Not that I'm gonna sit down and play through an entire JRPG local co-op with a couple of people. I don't, how realistic of a situation, like other than maybe
How long is this game?
I'm not sure how long. I can look it up on how long to beat.
I think it depends
Maybe if you
how
have
long
like
it
a
is.
significant other, like a partner, you might want to play through it like this.
There are definitely people, even if it's not like a part like a significant partner, but like so there are some people that will play RPGs together, sort of thing.
Main story 28 hours, main plus extra 35 hours, completion is 42 hours. So not the longest job. It's not Persona 3 Reload
Medium
level, you know.
No, it's still quite significant, but yeah, I guess that's fine.
Right, let's move on. Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo is been announced at PAX East. So there was Future Game Show, there was PAX East. There's a couple of different shows where games are shown off and some announcements are made. It's a 2D top-down yo-yo adventure, and it looks really fun. I like this. It's very like retro style. Like they even show it off on like a fake Game Boy Advance, I think it was, that they show it off in.
Really? Okay, interesting.
It's from the dev of, was it the Dodge? There was a dodgeball game they made. Pipistrello. Some of the areas, you remember those areas of Pokemon where you have to go in the rotating plates and you have to try and get through that area? It kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say like this reminds me a lot of like the puzzly things in a way to navigate in Pokemon.
Yeah, but they show it off running on something that looks very much like a Game Boy Advance called the Pocket Trap Advance. And Pocket Trap is the developer of Dodgeball Academia, which was published by Humble a couple of years ago. So they're a known dev. And yeah, this looks really cool. We have no release date yet, though. But speaking of release dates, Fallen Aces has received its Episode 1 release date. So this is the much anticipated New Blood brawler immersive sim boomer shootery game. I've played a couple of demos of this, and I'm quite impressed most of the time. You get to go and beat up some goons, but that, as some of the guys over New Blood found out over the weekend, gooning has taken on a different term on the internet over the past couple of years.
Yeah, you can't use
when it comes to goons.
that's not you can't use that as a verb. No.
Yeah. But yeah, Episode 1, it seems like they're going to be releasing episodically. So you'll have like each of the different level packs are going to be split up that way, and it'll be coming out this spring. And we don't have that much left of spring, right? We've got April. Is May in spring?
No. Yeah, spring literally started 5 days ago.
Oh yeah, I guess we just I always think about like March as like the start of.
Sure.
Spring,
I would argue that we had an early spring, so like a week into March, like it definitely, at least here in the UK, early spring.
Yeah, so
June,
the start?
If you do
June,
that, it's March to June.
Yeah, so soon TM.
It's still April, May. Yeah.
Then next up we have Crab God. I put this one in because I was like, why are there so many crab games recently? I don't understand.
Why are there so many yo-yo games recently?
Is there that many yo-yo games?
No, there's been two somewhat recently. Like,
well, because there's another Crab's Treasure which is coming out next month. I'm going to be playing that because it's coming out on Games Pass, and I played the demo. It's from the developers of Going Under. That great. You remember we did a spotlight on it? It's like a roguelite with you're in an office and it's about greedy businesses, and it has a fucking kick-ass soundtrack. Highly recommend Going Under soundtrack.
Very good. Yeah.
Then there's also the official people who made Crab Rave, Noise Storm, made a crab fighting game. There was another crab fighting game. And and now we have Crab God, which looks like Crab Goddess to me. So I'm just like, what is going on with us having so many crab games all coming out recently? Like, is crab the new hotness? I don't understand, but yeah.
People love crabs. How many legs do these crabs have?
Looks
Very
like
confused.
8, I think.
Yeah, that's not right.
And then finally we have Marvel 1943. This is just a purely kind of cinematic-y trailer, but I believe it's all being rendered in
Like,
real time in Unreal
yeah,
Engine. So
and it's at
during,
least in-engine cinematic.
I think it GDC happened just now, right? It was another big tech, because GDC, PAX, and Future Game Show just happened recently. We had a lot of tech stuff going off.
What was the one that Nvidia was talking to investors? Was that
GDC
Or not
probably.
Okay.
But yeah, we saw the state of Unreal for Unreal Engine 5.4. They said it was going to get better multi-threaded performance and better hardware accelerated ray tracing. But one of the big things they showed off was this new Marvel game, which is set in 1943, Captain America versus Nazis. I mean, versus Nazis. I mean, where's Machine Gun Games? You know.
It must be somewhere. Yeah.
And then the story is Captain America. Obviously, he got frozen, so he's about in Nazi times. And then I believe this is the grandfather of Black Panther is how they're doing like the time thing. I don't know much about the Marvel lore, so and I don't think you're like a huge comic book guy either. So
No, I don't know anything about. I can't remember what's that country called?
Wakanda.
You got it.
Yeah, the like hugely
anything about
technologically advanced
Yeah.
version of Africa in the Marvel universe, the Wakanda. Have you seen the Black Panther film? Because I have seen it.
I saw one of them. There's two of them, right?
Is there two? I've only seen the first one, I think.
Right.
But I kind of stopped watching the Marvel films after
Yes.
Infinity War or Endgame. Yeah, after Infinity War, I was kind of done. I was like, oh, Thanos just killed half the universe. Cool. That's the end. That's the end I would have liked. It was so fucking sad at the time.
And
I was like, yeah, okay, we can end it here. Like, so many people have been like, you know what, maybe this Thanos guy was all right. You know, maybe wiping out half the universe to stop them, you know, famine and war just destroying each other was okay.
I didn't know this, but like Thanos is meant to be like a part of like the eternal like stories. It's a shame that like the films really did a poor job because it actually sounded somewhat interesting. But yeah, Thanos was all right.
Thanos, you know, he was framed. But yeah, what do you think of this? I think it looks gorgeous. This game, but all we know is we know the basic story. It's Captain America is going to find a super soldier in Nazi Germany, and then
gameplay.
He meets with Black Panther. Black Panther and him don't know each other, and then they're going to fight in the superhero fashion. They're gonna some friends are gonna become enemies. Some enemies are gonna become friends. You know.
Will there be mutant Nazis? That's my question.
Well, because they were saying like there's a third super soldier that they've teased based on the dialogue of the story, but we don't get to see them. And people were like, who could be a super soldier-esque character that would be alive at this time? And people have pointed out, well, wouldn't Wolverine be alive at this time? So, like, technically, but there's a standalone Wolverine game coming out from Insomniac, so I don't think it would be Wolverine, even though he was a soldier, right?
Yeah.
One thing we
it's a super soldier then, though.
One thing we do know it's from the director of Uncharted 2, so I'm guessing the game might be more linear story focused than like open world. Yeah. And I highly doubt, and I really hope it's not a live service game. I don't think they're going to go that direct. It looks like a single player story game from what I can see of the trailer. Yeah. But we don't know yet. We don't have all the details.
I keep being surprised. Yeah, we keep seeing something like, oh yeah, here's this content. Oh, by the way, it's a live service game. Hopefully, it's not one of those.
But yeah, that's the end of trailers. Let's get on to cancellations. Why is this in here? Announcements first. Classic Marathon is being added to Steam. So Aleph 1, the developers, have been working to bring the original Marathon game, which is like Bungie's first ever FPS game that was developed way before Halo that not a lot of people know about. And they've been working on this, I believe it's open source engine, because the original Marathon only ran on Macs. It was never ported to PC at all.
Interesting.
But this will basically allow you to play the original Marathon through their port on PC through Steam. So that's really cool to see.
Who's making the modern Marathon? Does someone have?
There's a live. I think. I think Bungie is making the new one, right? Because it's a live service game.
Is it them? Is it they?
Well, because Bungie does Destiny 2, the live service game, and I think didn't Sony buy Bungie, and then they were like, "Now we want you to make another live service game with the Marathon." It's going to be an extraction shooter, I think, is what they're doing with it. Which I'm not interested in at all, an extraction shooter version of Marathon. I'm much more interested in the classic Marathon. But yeah, you can now experience it. Authentic gameplay using the original data files, optional widescreen HUD support, 3D filtering perspective, positional audio, and 60 FPS plus through interpolation, just in case the original is too authentic. Classic Marathon is powered by the Aleph 1 engine, which is available under the terms of the GNU General Public License, the GPL version 3.
Is that like going like you watch like an old TV show, you're like, oh, this is too authentic. There's too much racism.
That's how I.
Is it kind of like that?
I was gonna say. I watched Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and I'm like, the quality of this is too authentic. I would like to see a higher quality version of this.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Then also, speaking of cult classics returning, I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if you saw, there was a video by Reykjavik.
Yeah, Reykjavik. Yeah, I did see this.
And the original
team.
Alpha Protocol has come back and is available on storefronts. It was delisted like 3 or 4 years ago, sort of thing, I believe.
Yeah. I still don't rate this game, but I think it does deserve to exist.
I'd never heard of this game up until like I saw the Reykjavik video, but basically it was
right. That's supposed to be you saw it. Okay.
Obsidian made a Choices Matter spy shooter, third-person shooter game.
Yeah, I will appreciate the choices actually mattered, but there's many issues I had with it.
So one of the final boss fights had a copyrighted song in it, and they were like, "Oh, this will be fine."
The disco.
We just
as like a disco song.
I mean, they were like, "Hey, what's going to happen in 20 years when they come for the soundtrack rights?" And it's like, "Oh, we'll worry about that in the future." And then they fucked around, and then they found out.
Yeah. Well, it bombed. They had no interest of like doing anything. Like, if it was like super successful, they might have gone, "Oh, we need to keep this great game alive." But
apparently GOG's been working on re-getting the rights to this for like years now. Like as soon as it was delisted, they just started working on getting the rights back.
Get the lawyers in to try and see who actually owns what, and get the phone calls.
A lot of the time, it's like, oh, it's one track. Can we change this track? And it would be very simple. And it's like it'll take multiple years just to get emails back from lawyers and finding the original IP holder and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I would recommend watching the video. Like it explains, it goes into a lot of detail.
Yeah, if you want to watch the in-depth I would recommend
process. It's interesting.
Watching the Reykjavik video on this game because it's quite interesting and how it came back to digital storefronts. But it's coming back with modern PC support, licensed soundtrack, full controller support, achievements, and more. And it is DRM free only on GOG. So. Good old gaming does it again. I like that. You know how like Valve is just massively fueled by like having Steam and CS:GO and Dota boxes and stuff like that, and is able to just do good guy stuff with the money from their infinite money pool. I'm glad that CG Projekt Red has cash cows like Cyberpunk and The Witcher that are able to fund stuff like GOG that is just like. Let's be the good guys and just... This is a game
philanthropy, but on a business scale.
This game has very mixed reviews, but it should never not be able to be played by anybody, even if people necessarily don't need to play it,
Well,
sort of thing, right?
it turns out there's some crazy people that really like this game, and I'm
Hmm.
very surprised by that in of itself. But I mean, all power to them, I suppose.
Let's move on to cancellations, or should I say, maybe cancellations? Question mark. So the Trendemir, one of the co-founders of Riot Game, put out a series of tweets recently, basically saying that the work on the Riot MMO has been completely restarted, which says to me that there's a lot of I always joke saying that the Riot MMO is never going to come out. Like, there's a couple of games I think about, like there's the Riot MMO, there's Star Citizen. Any others where I just this is never actually going to come out?
It's kind of tangent but related. But there's actually is it Chris Roberts is the CEO of like Star Citizen, right?
Yeah.
They're saying he recently said, I think like last week, saying like, oh, we're now on the path to full 1.0 release. So I'm just gonna say Star Citizen might come out before the Elder Scrolls 6.
Elder Scrolls 6 is another great one. Beyond Good and Evil 2, I think, is one.
Oh yeah, that's.
I mean, Skull and Bones was one of the most delayed games.
But the Singapore government pulled through.
Yeah, it's the quadruple A game Skull and Bones finally came out, which you'd love to see. Anyway, so they've restarted development on this MMO, which is never a good sign to completely reset development on an MMO, because there's so much time and effort that goes into just developing it in the first place, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the ex-Riot devs and World of Warcraft devs, Ghostcrawler, was working on his own MMO as well. I don't know if you've heard about that. So there's like...
Do we know a name of it?
No, I don't think we know too much about Ghostcrawlers.
Okay.
Ghostcrawler MMO. I don't think we know much. We know as much about Ghostcrawler's MMO as we know about the Riot MMO. Is pretty much how it's going right now.
Right.
But
good,
anyway,
good.
Basically, he went on to say it's been restarted, and you've seen stuff like, famously, I don't know if you know this, but I'm guessing you do, like, Overwatch was made because Blizzard was trying to make a StarCraft MMO, and it completely failed. Project Titan, and it got remade into a hero team shooter called Overwatch.
You know what? I'm a massive fan of StarCraft. I think Overwatch is a fine thing to pivot to. I think Overwatch back in its heyday was good.
Yeah. And yeah, so Trendemir has gone ahead and said it's been restarted, but he wants to let people know they are still working on it. So they are going to try and finish the Riot MMO. So in 20 years, when the Riot MMO releases, I will be giving you an update on it. So, and then next up on cancellations, we have the future of Duck Game. So Duck Game is published by Adult Swim Games. And if you don't know, those bastards over at Warner Brothers are basically shutting down all of their gaming stuff in order to get tax breaks, and they were basically gonna. It seems like they're gonna delist all of the Adult Swim games that have been published, and Duck Game, which is a great party game that I personally play, is going to be delisted, and that's such a shame. But they've put out a statement, basically saying the future of Adult Swim game titles, including Duck Game, is uncertain as Warner may delist them. The dev reflects on their positive experience with Adult Swim games, and explores potential outcomes from the game staying as it is to republishing under a new publisher, or even creating a new version independently. Despite the uncertainty, they express gratitude to supporters and vow to continue updating Duck Game. So basically, the devs just have no fucking idea what's going on with their games. They're in limbo right now.
Yeah.
And they're like, they would be happy to get them republished or published themselves, but I don't know if Warner Brothers is going to even bother allowing devs to republish their games. You remember what happened with, was it the Batgirl film was finished and then got scrapped? The Scooby-Doo film got finished and was edited and was scrapped.
Yeah, I don't. When it comes to films, though, my understanding is like I guess the publisher is like very much is more in control. When it's like a dev that's underneath the publisher as a separate entity entirely. I don't know how that goes. I don't know. I don't know the business legality of what you can and can't do.
Yeah. Let's move on to releases. Contra Operation Galuga, the 12th of March 2024.
Galuga.
Has come out. It is a return to the legendary Contra series, and it's got a demo. And I was like, oh, there's no online co-op, it's only local co-op. I checked ProtonDB. It has platinum rank on ProtonDB for Steam Deck.
Platinum.
So I could load this up on my
what does
Steam
platinum
Deck.
mean?
Perfect.
What does platinum mean compared to other metals? Okay, right.
That's the top medal you can receive.
Yeah, no,
from,
yeah.
ProtonDB.
Okay. So just mean that there are no issues and it works fully.
Yeah, it works like flawlessly.
Right.
Then, it seems like it's got some very positive reviews. Let's have a quick look. First, I was acceptable about the look of the new installment of Contra. To my surprise, though, it nails the feel and gunplay to classic Contra games and has a few modern touches like gun perk upgrades, new characters, and unique level design. I would absolutely recommend it. Finally, a faithful Contra game. Yeah, it seems like if you're
publishes Contra?
Konami.
It is Konami.
Konami is coming back. They are doing Silent
they
Hill
do one
stuff.
Good thing, one bad thing, one good thing, one bad thing. So
I think
that's still better than what they did before. But
look, Tony, they're making Silent Hill games. They just
sure.
I don't know if you saw they put out a teaser. They're doing a Castlevania crossover with V Rising. There's going to be a V Rising thing with Castlevania, which would be interesting.
I'm looking. Yeah. But isn't that like we gave our license to someone else that's good at making games to do something though. But to be clear, that's still better than what they were doing.
Making pachinko machines.
Metal Gear Survive and Metal Gear Survive.
Yeah. Then next up we have For Honor has come to Steam, to which I say this wasn't already on Steam. Apparently
this wasn't already on Steam.
This was one of the Ubisoft holdouts still of not games that were unavailable on Steam. So God, do you remember For Honor? It was like that medieval combat multiplayer thing.
I remember people playing it for a couple of weeks, yeah.
It's got mixed reviews but mostly positive recent. This game helped me a lot with my gamer rage issue. Now I don't have rage outbursts. I'm simply mad all the time. 10 out of 10.
I thought I was going to make the meme. This helped me a lot with my gamer rage. Now I don't have a computer to play games on. That's the meme. I'm not sure about the psychology of having an outlet like that. I feel like, is it better to try and deal with
people are saying it has really good fighting mechanics. So, and then another person says you got to go through Ubisoft sneaky malware. Did you see was it Reykjavik who made the video on Ubisoft recently?
Yeah.
But he was basically just saying like, and I don't think I disagree with him. He was basically saying like, Ubisoft's not bad. They're just disappointing. They have really good ideas, and then they make these cookie cutter things. Well, we have to jump through a billion hoops in order to.
Well, okay.
Just get it to basically work.
My takeaway from the video was more that they make the same shit that EA or Activision do, but they claim they're gonna aim for this bold thing that's different than you actually play it. And it technically is in there, but it's not what you thought it was.
Well, it's
but
like
some impressive artistic.
The Crew 2. I love that. The Crew 2 is a really fun driving game, or just vehicle driving game. You can go quick, you can be in a car, then I'm in a boat, then I'm in a plane. It's really good. And I'm like, this game would be great if it had all the Ubisoft bullshit removed for it, where I have to log into a server for 10 minutes, and then I have to go through 500 pop-ups to tell me how much XP. No, I just want to drive around in a boat, in a plane, in a car. That stuff's really fun, but it's like just bogged down by Ubisoft. And there's so many games like that where I'm just like, they have good ideas and they can execute well in certain aspects, and other stuff is just disappointing.
Well, this is in a way, For Honor is like the others, and I guess the Crew is like the other side of the worst side of Ubisoft, where they just delete games that were online only. Like in 5 years' time, will For Honor exist?
I have no idea.
Because as far as I'm aware, there's no dedicated server. Like, you can't host it yourself. Like, it has to be through their servers.
Okay, on the 14th. Speaking of things that have been preserved, Tony, the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection has been re-released. Oh, has been released on Steam by Asper Media, who had a good start of the year with the Tomb Raider Remaster Collection that took on original modders and said, "Hey, you made the OpenLAR engine. Let's bring you on and help us make this new version." And it got very positive reviews. And then Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection came out, and we've got some mostly negative reviews here. So one of the big things...
It looks like a completely wrong build.
So what happened here was some of the big things were multiplayer. There was 10,000 people who wanted to play this on launch.
Yeah.
And there was 3 multiplayer servers.
3?
3, which
How
allowed...
would be on each server?
I think overall you could have about 200 people playing at once on these servers. No option to host your own server. So if you wanted to play multiplayer, you would have to try and get a slot on this 200 player servers. And then these servers are also down a lot because the servers were having issues. So that was one of the big issues. The base game was quite buggy. There was quite a few bugs. And also a modder found that their work had been used inside the game based on a trailer. So Asper Media put out a statement saying, no, look, this was the trailer was made based on like a older version of the game that was using some mods that were no longer in the game. We have not uncredited you for using your mod. The game came out, the modder played it and was like, no, this is my mod inside the full release of the game, uncredited. So
I've got one other bad thing to add to your list.
Oh, go on.
The campaign for the second game doesn't have all the cutscenes. It's just missing. Like, you're just missing half the story.
I think they just did a recent update where they re-added those, I believe. But
I'll believe it when someone confirms it.
I heard that it was there was a patch notes for this, and apparently it wasn't in the patch notes, but it did change the game to add the cutscenes back.
Okay.
Let's see.
But the fact that it wasn't there to begin with is insane. Like, it just feels like they accidentally uploaded the wrong half-built build.
And do you also know, like, how big the game's? Like 50 gigabytes.
Oh,
as well.
Yeah, it's giant for some reason. Yeah, and the originals 2 combined is like 12 gigabytes.
And then they just did a patch for the game, which was 15 gigabytes. But apparently the patch, the Battlefront 1 loading sounds work. Seems better and more stable for both games. Battlefront 2 servers seem better, and the hit. Did you see the hit detection bugs?
Oh yeah, that was
the
hilarious.
multiplayer servers
the opposite.
The
opposite of hit.
Yeah, they had everyone didn't have stormtrooper aim. They had stormtrooper damage, where you would just shoot people and they would just take no damage.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah. People were saying, like, because Asper Media did the remaster of a lot of the old Knights of the Old Republic games, right? And they were doing the remake of KOTOR, and then THQ Nordic took it away from them, basically, and gave it to a different developer.
Else. Yeah.
So I don't know. There was a class action lawsuit against Asper because they promised the cut content DLC for the Switch version of KOTOR, and they said that it wasn't possible, and they removed it. And people were saying, "Well, we bought this game based on the cut content being there."
Yeah, but if they don't have control of the license, I don't know what they can do.
But yeah, the Tomb Raider was good. Battlefront very bad. I mean, Asper Media is kind of all over the place with their remasters at the moment.
Surely it must be a different team, considering like how close to like.
I don't know. Like,
I assume they didn't just like start the project as soon after Tomb Raider was out. I don't.
How many bad Night Dive ports can you name? I can name probably 2. I think the Blade Runner port was bad that they did, and the Blood port on release was pretty bad. But other than that, like, if you want a classic game remastered, go to Night Dive or GOG. It seems like.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Aspid did a good job with Tomb Raider, but I don't know if I fully trust these guys when it comes to most things. They seem a little all over the place. I don't know.
They seem to be caught up in a lot of things, and they seem to. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's them or just like who they're like underneath, or so causing problems. I don't know.
Next up, we have that came out on the 14th of March. Oh god, there was the modded news. Lightyear Frontier came out on the 19th of March, and I was going to play this because I played the demo. I was like, "Oh, it's coming out on Game Pass. I'm going to play this."
After Persona, right?
As soon as guys, I'm so close to finishing Persona 3 Reload. I am 72 hours in. I must be at the end of the game. I must be at the end of the game. Surely there's look, guys. I just hit New Year. So I should be at the end of the game. There can't be much more game to be. I just had Christmas with my 4 girlfriends, and I should be right at the end of the game, you know? But yeah, Lightyear Frontier, made by a couple of Swedish devs, I think, because my friend Martin said that the guys who made this game went to his game development school. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. And I really liked the demo, so I'm going to check out this full game, and we'll probably do a Tangerine on it. And it seems like people are really liking it. Mech Warrior Retirement. That's a pretty good.
I like that. I like that. That's a good idea.
The only thing I think about this is, from what I played, is it's much more a farming game than it is a survival game. So I don't think there's any combat, but I did like the weird power wash simulator stuff where you're just going, or like it's like the Gunk, where you're just going around like trying to wash corruption away. And I was like, I like this stuff. Farming stuff I'm not so into generally, but I do think this game looks gorgeous, and I think the mech stuff might be enough of a novelty to keep me engaged again. Yeah. It's out in early access and game preview on Games Pass, so I'm going to give it a go. Then next up we have Alone in the Dark remaster. I didn't even remember this was coming out until it came out. It's the one with David Harbour from Stranger Things. Like it's his like face as the character, and he plays Hopper if you've ever seen the show, and Jodie Comer, who is Killing Eve in the BBC show Killing Eve. But people are saying it's funny how the original game from the 90s, Alone in the Dark, inspired games like Resident Evil, and now Alone in the Dark is making a remaster inspired by the Resident Evil remasters. So it seems like we've gone like full circle on inspiration, I guess.
Well, to be fair, we've not had a good Alone in the Dark for, well, since the original, I guess.
But yeah, I'm interested to try this out. It looks really fun. I'm a big fan of like psychological horror, survival horror sort of stuff. So I'm going to be really interested to try this out.
Will there be a stone that I need to get? That's my
Tony, it has the Lovecraftian tag. I mean, need I say more?
Yeah. That's always been the point of Alone in the Dark, but I can't remember what year. Like, it's like an Xbox game, I think, maybe 360.
Oh, I think I know the one you're talking. Is that the one in the city?
It's terrible. Yeah, it's in New York. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Is it Xbox 360?
I think I've also played that Alone in the Dark game briefly and was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, 2008. Yeah, so I think that's 360, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, that has to be. Yeah. Yeah, that's terrible.
PlayStation 2?
There was a lot of like YouTube poops around it at the time. It's just like before memes were memes.
Okay, so it came out on PS2 and then also PS3, 360, Wii, and Windows.
Yeah.
You can buy it on Steam, Tony, Alone in the Dark 2008.
Yeah, I know. That's another game I played around my friends on this Xbox.
Going to get it.
Sure. It was absolutely terrible.
Where were we? Yeah. But yeah, it has mixed reviews on Steam, the 2008 remaster.
2008. That's too high.
Besides the cool details and mechanics of the game, what in the hell did I just play? But let's talk about the new one. It seems
Yeah.
the new game is really positive from what I've seen so far. Very sweet game, strongly
That's good.
recommend for
That's good.
anyone who enjoys mystic mysteries and themes of the occult. Very enjoyable, written and directed, not a masterpiece, but comfy above most game nowadays. Performance felt a little bit goofy and overly dramatic at first, but after a while it stopped bothering me. It made the game feel awkwardly campy, which actually intensified the scary moments when they came, at least in my experience. Not necessarily a strong nor a weakness, but an adequate and charming quirk. Something else that felt awkward about the game was the very noticeable fact that every character's face model was wholly made from scratch, except for the two playable protagonists. It got
Oh,
a little bit
really?
distracting once you
Interesting.
realize the only pair of faces are Emily and Edwards, and everything else is a fake. But admittedly, this has also ended up contributing to my unease. So actually, I ended up sort of appreciating it. Combat and locomotion is very serviceable for the kind of game it is. Very reminiscent of The Evil Within, for anyone who's played that. I have. That is a mixed game, in my opinion. I like parts of The
Hmm.
Evil Within, and I dislike parts of The Evil Within. It is also very painfully basic. It does just a tiny bit more than the rudimentary, which makes the type of loot that gets very old very quickly, unlike The Evil Within. However, Alone in the Dark's combat is a lot more spaced out and well considered in its pace, and the game is shorter, so as a whole, it's actually alright. But yeah, seems pretty positive. If you're looking for I feel like survival horror games, like most of the time, are just kind of in the middle when it comes. When was the last like really
The,
good survival horror game that we had? And I don't think the RE
don't
remakes
know.
count, do they? Or because this is a remake as well, I guess. Like
In
Resident Evil 2 was really good in my opinion. 3 was okay, and I think people really liked 4, but I haven't played 4 yet.
Yeah, I guess it depends how you want to kind of like. Are you talking about mechanically alone, or are you talking about
I
the whole
liked the
package?
medium, but the medium was kind of mid in a lot of ways as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, I'm gonna say it then. The original Resident Evil 4, the last good one, that actually like was
right.
more than just mediocre.
People seem to like the Evil Within 2. I've not played that. That's apparently more
I don't,
open
yeah, I don't
world.
know anything about it. Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
Anyway,
Wait, when did that come out? Like 2017
2017, something like that.
was it? Okay.
Evil Within 2
Yeah,
came
so Evil
out
Within 2
in
is on my
2017.
list. Okay. Just never looked into it, never got around to it.
Let's move on. Horizon Forbidden West Complete Edition came out on the 21st of March. How far into the... We're almost an hour in, Tony. I've got to speed up these releases. Looks
Wait,
like
it's fine.
Nix's did it again. They've released another good PC port of a Sony game.
Yeah, it sounded like it sounded like they worked together
Guerrilla
more or something
Games.
like Gorilla, that's it.
They do like the Guerrilla engine, which I believe was used for... Was it the first Death Stranding game was in the... Or was that the
Was it?
Decima engine? I can't remember which one it was.
I thought no one used a Gorilla engine.
I might be misremembering. Death Strand. It's the first Strand type engine.
I'd be surprised. Then again, I wouldn't be surprised if they used something that
Yeah.
someone else had and they just
The
like fixed it.
Horizon Zero Dawn's engine is the Decima engine, which is also used for
Okay.
Death Stranding.
So that's the one that Hideo Kojima like fixed or like fixed a part of it, and then I guess they just use it himself.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Apparently the Until Dawn games use the
Yeah, that's
So it
true.
started out with Killzone Shadowfall, then Until Dawn
Yeah.
used it. A game called Riggs Mechanized Combat League, Horizon Zero Dawn, Death Stranding, Horizon Forbidden West, and then Death Stranding 2 is also going to be in the Decima engine, which is this engine. I believe they've converted it to... Is this running off Unreal now for the PC? Because is that how it
There's
works?
definitely something that makes me think of Unreal, but I don't know if it's just doing similar things.
Is Horizon... What's the first Horizon game called? Zero Dawn. I don't know, to be honest with you. truth of the matter is, I do not know. But yeah, it looks really good. I think one of the things people were pointing out is they probably could have gone harder with the overhead they had for PC in terms of like adding more ray tracing stuff. But it seems
Sure.
like they were just
I
like,
think it's
hey,
a very aesthetic game already, but yeah, they definitely could have.
I mean, like people out there who have like 4090s and
Yeah,
7800 X3Ds, you're gonna have a little
but it's
bit
pretty.
more
But this
overhead to
game's pretty
add.
solid and lower.
Yeah, it's
Like
a good
it like
looking game,
scales
and
quite well,
also
and it like targets are pretty good.
I believe it runs at about 40 FPS on the lowest, like 30, 40 FPS on the Steam Deck on the lowest settings. So
Oh, really?
very
That's really good. I
playable
was
on the Steam
expecting
Deck.
worse.
It's not
Nice.
verified, but from what I've seen of videos, it actually runs on the Steam Deck, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, I know the
Which is
original game
unlike
ran on the Steam Deck.
some of the other like AAA games, where like Returnal is
Considering,
like too
yeah,
big to
okay,
run on
it
the
took
Steam
like
Deck.
7 updates for the original game to like be decent on PC. That's it's good. It swings out the gate.
Well, that was
Good.
like
That's nice.
that was ported
That
by
wasn't.
a different studio, and then Nixus had to
Yeah,
come in and fix it, sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. I believe Gorilla did some of it themselves as well.
Because Nixus did most of the like they do Ratchet and Spider-Man,
Yep.
and then
God of War, didn't they do that one?
no, that was
They didn't do that one.
Jet Boot or Jetpack or something.
Right.
I can't remember what the development's called, but they're called like they're not Nixus. They're called like Jet something.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find their name. Jetpack is their name. The partner studio is just called Jetpack. Jetpack Studios is their name. So, but they did a pretty decent job of God of War. So,
yeah.
And then who did The Last of Us? It was Naughty Dog, and then they worked with somebody else for the PC port. Iron Galaxy Studios. That's the other one. Iron Galaxy Studios did the. So yeah, they have a couple of. I think Santa Monica themselves partnered up with Jetpack Studios. I don't know if that was a Sony. I'm guessing Sony had something to do with it, but yeah, it seems like usually you just go with Nixes and you'll get a good PC port and you'll get all the features you want. You'll get like high frame rates. Oh, another, I don't know if you've seen the Digital Foundry video on this. Apparently, this game has dynamic resolution scaling that actually works with upscaling.
Oh, thank goodness. That's a first.
Yeah, so you can basically, I think at the moment it only goes up to 30 to 60 FPS. But you can basically say, hey, I want my dynamic resolution scaling to keep me at 60 at this resolution at all time. And it will turn your DLSS quality up and down based on keeping you at 60. So you can have like a DLSS quality when you're stood still, and then it'll go into more of a performance mode when you are like running around and you have those frame dips. So like that's a like. Well, people have been saying like dynamic resolution scaling works really well on consoles. Why don't we have it on PC as an option as well?
Most console players don't even know they're not actually playing the resolution that the TVs are outputting. So yeah.
But yeah, it seems like dynamic resolution scaling is working really well in this game as well, which is really cool to see.
Yeah,
and it of course also has DLSS 3 and does it have FSR? I don't know if it has FSR 3, but it definitely has FSR 2 support. Yeah,
this game I played a little bit on PS5. It's I would recommend the bits I played for sure.
Is it much different from the first game in terms of how it plays?
I found it to be harder. It's similar, but it's like more. I don't know.
I have the first game, but
mental stuff.
I have not played it, and I think it's low on my list of Sony ports to play.
Yeah. I think
God of War. I think my number one is like my number one is games I want to play right now is The Last of Us because I just watched the TV series, but then I know that the PC port is kind of not the greatest.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I think my next game I want to play properly is Horizon Zero Dawn. So
Log in.
And then and depending on how much I want to continue because I really like the character Aloy, so I think she's very interesting. I don't know. I don't know if she's for everyone. I think some people get rubbed up the wrong way, but I don't know.
Next up, that came out on the 21st of March. Also on the 21st of March, we had the Steam release of Tchia, which looks like a really cool little open world game about, I don't know if you remember, it's like a girl on a desert island who, I don't know if it's desert, but like a tropical island where you had like a gliding mechanic like Zelda, but you could also transform into different objects on the fly sort of thing. It looks really interesting.
I vaguely remember what made it interesting though.
Just that you're a little girl and you were like an open world relaxing game where you could just turn into several objects on the fly, and it made it look really cool. But it was like a Epic exclusive for a long time, but it's finally come to Steam now. But I think the idea is like for an open world game, the idea of like running around and jumping off a cliff and then turning into a bird or something and flying around is like a pretty compelling idea. I mean, you can do that in Ubisoft games, I think, but yeah, this looks really cool.
In a weird way, but yeah.
I'm interested to play this game. I think it looks really, really cool. I think this is a game that I would really enjoy. Then next up we have Princess Peach Showtime came out on the 22nd of March. This is the first Peach game since the DS. Have you ever played the DS Princess Peach game?
I've not played any Princess Peach.
I have played the DS Princess Peach game.
Is that the one with the emotional changing system? Okay.
So you'll have like there's an ice cube. I have to get really cool. Yeah, there's an ice cube. I have to get angry and then I can melt it, or there's a seed that I need to grow, so you have to cry to grow the plant and stuff like that. Man. I quite enjoyed the game on the DS. I didn't think it was the best game, but it was fine.
Nice little
I've seen a little bit of gameplay of this game, and it seems all right. It seems very simplistic, and it is just the idea is you go from one mini game of so you start off as a sword fighter, and then you have like a mini game where you're baking, and then you're a detective, and then you're like like kung fu fighting, or like it seems like not a lot of depth to the game, but it seems pretty solid. Like it has solid Nintendo polish to it. It seems okay.
I'm just wondering if they have like a specific demographic they were targeting. That this is like, it has to be this. I don't know. That's
kids.
Interesting. That
I think they're looking.
Is it younger?
I think this is for a game for young. I think most Nintendo games are for a younger audience, but
but it is more younger than Mario, like mainline Mario games, though.
Yeah.
Like
this is more for the Bluey the video game audience. No, that game is very easy. That game I think is very simple. But yeah, I think this is maybe more for younger people.
Pre-teens.
But I still think it looks interesting, and maybe I'll give it a go at some point. The thing is, Nintendo, not only have they been assholes to emulators, but they've also been like really lackluster with games at the start of this year. So it's like there's no major release yet. Like we had Super Mario Wonder and Tears of the Kingdom last year, but this year we've had a Princess Peach game and Mario versus Donkey Kong, which is like a weird puzzle game. So there hasn't
been 3 months into the year.
Pretty good. I'm just thinking how like last year was super stacked, and the start of this year has been super stacked. Like Balatro, Persona, fucking.
It's because they knew they wanted to avoid all those stacked games.
I've played so much great Pal World. Like I've played so much crazy good stuff at the start of this year that I'm like, damn, 2024 might be a good year as well.
Yeah, it looks like that way.
Then we have Rise of Ronin. Came out on PS5 exclusive from Team Ninja. It's sort of like that more open worldy, like Dark Soulsy kind of game. It seems like it's got pretty decent reviews, mostly 7s, like on the upper echelon of the reviews. It's not getting like
it's above 82%.
Yeah, It's more like that. I think Princess Peach was
It's all
also.
good.
It's similar to Princess Peach. It seems like, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
it's like it's a
Yeah.
decent game, but it's not like a oh my god, you have to drop
Right.
everything and play this
Yeah.
game now sort of thing. Based on
Yeah.
open critic reviews, which there's no Steam reviews that I can read to see like individual people's
Yeah,
opinions.
I feel like Steam reviews are more organic than most other
That's what
Capcom
I prefer,
reviews.
but for these like
Yeah.
PlayStation and Nintendo games, I've just got to go on the open critic stuff to kind of get a gauge of where people are thinking the game is, right?
Yeah.
Then we have Dragon's Dogma 2 came out on the 22nd of March as well, and we've got some
CPU benchmark 4.
mixed reviews on this one. We had Baldur's Gate Act 3 was the real CPU benchmark for the longest time.
No,
right?
I think this is worse.
This is the new one. This is the new one. So, Dragon Dogma 2 launched. It went to mostly negative review bombing after it was revealed that
There's a character creator demo. Let's go.
Yeah, that came out before the game released, so people were making.
That's hilarious.
So I don't know if you know, but the way the game works is you have several players in your party, and you basically you go through this character creator to make your main character, and then you make what are called your pawns. So these are like your party members. So you could make like one be you, and then you could make me or Michael or whatever be your pawns that follow you around in your party, right?
Yeah. The Chan will be in charge. Right?
Yeah. Oh, the Calvin Chan build.
Yeah.
But basically they announced microtransactions after launch. People found out that you could use microtransactions to buy fast travel or microtransactions to edit your character. People were pretty pissed off. It has been pointed out that you can earn in-game currency to buy these things. You can earn in-game currency to buy the ability to fast travel and remake your character appearance. But I think the fact that they added these as microtransaction post-launch is still like a very deservedly reprimanded thing that they shouldn't have done.
100%. I would say though, this isn't excusing them at all, but I just want to say like it is in line with the Resident Evil games. I mean, it's in the RE engine, isn't it? This game. So I guess it's just a Capcom thing.
Is it? I'm actually not sure if this one's in the RE engine.
I believe it is.
Maybe it is. Yeah, let's have a look.
Don't Google it.
Don't Google it. I think it's using the RE engine. Yeah. RE engine.
I think again, I completely agree. Like they should have just like been upfront with it, but it's unfortunately a thing that Capcom does. Like the Devil May Cry does it, Resident Evil does it. I guess now Dragon Dogma does it. There's another Capcom game that does it. It's like you don't need to do it, Capcom. Like just release the soundtrack DLC. That's all you needed to have a release.
I think Capcom has another engine that they sometimes use, but not very often. And they've mostly been using RE engine, which is why I was confused there, yeah. But yeah, anyway. They basically, so people are upset about this. I think one of the biggest criticisms of the game was it was heavily unoptimized in terms of especially CPU performance. You would go into the town, which I think is the heaviest area in the entire game, and it would be like sub 20 FPS for like most people. I think on the consoles, like on the consoles in the open world, people were getting like sub 20 FPS like gameplay just because you're constantly rendering the open world and all of your party members at the same time, and it's like really taxing the CPU, especially with how unoptimized it is.
Yeah, my understanding is like actual like combat is fine. It's just like if you need to like do story stuff in major city and towns, it's like as soon as NPCs have to do anything, they just like tanks the.
But the backlash was big enough that Capcom put a statement out saying that they're going to be working on crashes and bug fixes, so critical problems such as crashes and freezing. Like I was watching Asmongold play, and I saw him crash several times while playing the game.
Yeah, the crashing is worse than performance. I would
Tony, do you remember the killer feature of Launch Pal World on the Game Subs version where there was no quit game
You can't
button.
quit. Yes,
What if I
do
told you
remember.
Dragon Dogma 2 launched with the brand new feature of being unable to restart the game? There was no new game
What?
option. So
What?
they said we are now looking
Oh,
at...
there's only one save game, isn't there? Only
Yeah,
one save game
there's
slot, I
one
think, is
save game and
bullshit.
you cannot reset it.
Why?
So they said, we are looking at adding the feature to the Steam version of the game that will allow players that are already playing to restart the game. We will announce
No.
more details as soon as we can. So, guys,
I don't want to restart the game. Just have more than one save game slot.
when the Epic Games shopping cart comes out, you'll be able to restart Dragon Dogs. Does the Epic Game Store still not have a shopping cart?
I believe it has a shopping cart now.
I actually have no
I've
idea.
not bought a game in so long.
So when it comes to paid DLC, all the listed items can be obtained in-game or as paid DLC items. The Art of Metamorphosis, character editor, the change pawn inclinations, the warp location marker, the restore the dead to life wake stone, and rift crystals, points to spend beyond the rift, the makeshift goal, key escape from the goal, and the happy lore item. Regarding frame rate, a large amount of CPU usage is allocated to each character and calculating the impact of their physical presence in various areas. In certain situations where numerous characters appear simultaneously, this is me putting this in, by the way, that would be the entire game because you're always with your characters. The CPU usage can be very high and may affect the frame rate. We are aware that in such situations, settings the reduced GPU load may currently have a limited effect. However, we are looking into ways to improve performance in the future. So, current gen systems, Zen 2 architecture, very weak CPUs. But even then, like very high-end CPUs, like a 7800 X3D, you're getting like really poor frame pacing, especially in those city areas.
There's also a weird thing that there's not in a lot of modern games doesn't happen. If you increase the resolution, you actually decrease your FPS. Like it's not normally if you increase the resolution, the graphics card takes more of the brunt of the work. That's not happening in this game either, which is weird. So if they could fix that, that'd be great.
I think from the most of the reviews I read right now are saying if you have a weaker system, the game's kind of unplayable. So
yeah,
most people are saying
patch.
the actual game is really fun, but it's just really unoptimized for the most part when it comes to performance. So just wait for patches.
I think it was like Steve from Gaming Nexus' like conclusion on this was like surely they knew about this before releasing it. So
yeah. Well, we saw the preview videos of them. The console preview videos were running like sub 30 FPS, and we're like, oh, this game is not going to run locked 30 on release.
Yeah.
And then because we're recording this on a Tuesday instead of a Sunday, we have South Park Snow Day came out, the 3D South Park game, the like action, the ARPG South Park game, and it has mixed reviews. So you were like, oh, is this made by the same people who did the first South Park games? And I was like, well, the Stick of Truth was made by Obsidian, and then the second South Park game was made by Ubisoft themselves, like one of their internal studios, and then this game is being made by Question, who did the Magic Cube. It was called the Magic. I keep wanting to say the Magic Circle, right? The Magic Circle and the Blackout Club, which are two games I really like. But it's got mixed reviews. Let's see what people are saying. I mean, it's all right. The gameplay reminds me of Senran Kagura? I don't know what that is. Let me look that up. Senran Kagura. What the fuck is this game? What the fuck? Am I going to get a content warning for clicking it? What is happening on this game? Tony, look, this is a Tony game. I'm not going to show this on screen.
This is a Tony game. Wait, wait, what?
What the fuck?
Is this a meme recommendation? What's going on?
Huh? Okay. Well, I can see what Eat Six's been playing. Not the best game, but it's pretty fun at least. I'll review positive, but my overall fun so far. But this game needs an update. Add basic hit sounds, add locking onto enemies, add some quality of life things to make the game just a bit better. Very fun, great co-op. An unapologetic button masher. Whatever you do, don't go into South Park tonight expecting more of the same. The same here with both the sequel narrative mechanically to the franchise. 2 excellent turn-based RPG adventure entries to come out in the last 10 years. Instead, like most childhood snow days, South Park Snow Day is a flow of high-intensity action that leaves you and your friends exhausted yet ends sooner than you wish it did. So yeah, the game is worth $10 tops. All mechanics are pretty basic, audio for dialogue. Combat is slow and clunky. There are only 3 million 3-range weapon choices. Already trying to sell DLC, play Risk of Rain 2 or something that's better than this. Seems like it's a pretty simplistic ARPG, may not be worth the price of admission, although the price of admission is about £25. It's not overly expensive, but if you're going to play this online with friends, that's going to be multiple copies of the game, so we'll have to wait and see whether... Might be one to pick up on sale, I'm not sure about this one. I mean... It's a big change from the turn-based up. Like, I adored Stick of Truth. Like, I thought that game was amazing. And then they changed up South Park, The Fractured Butthole. It wasn't fancy. It was superhero, but, like, the turn-based was more like a grid-based thing, and it became a little bit more complicated than how simple but good depth the original Stick of Truth game was. Right. So, yeah, I never finished that one. But this one looks okay. Bit mixed at the moment. I have to check this one out later when it's on sale, see what people are saying. Let's move on to quick news. Oh, Yoshi P put out a joke recently where he was showing off the new Final Fantasy XIV expansion. Yoshida is an absolute fucking legend of the Japanese development community. He does great work on Final Fantasy, but he basically said, he literally straight up said, I've moved the launch of the Final Fantasy 14 expansion to give players 1 week to finish the Elden Ring DLC that's coming out.
I mean, it makes sense to try and get more players.
I thought that was hilarious. He was like, Elden Ring DLC, 1 week. And I was like, yes. That was the part I understood from the Japanese. But yeah, that was great. Then we have Overwatch 2 is going to stop locking new heroes behind a battle pass for Season 10. Whoa, it's almost like this was an anti-consumer practice and nobody wanted this. Whoa. It's almost as if this was just a way to try and make more money. I mean, honestly, I've gone back and I've played Overwatch 2 again, and it's a pretty fun game.
Yeah.
I like the gameplay of Overwatch and Overwatch 2.
Sure. Yeah.
I like the move to a more aggressive, less shield and tank focused Overwatch.
Absolutely.
I even like the recent change where DPSs can heal themselves now, because it means I can play less as a team, but that's probably not for the good of the game as a team-based shooter. I don't know. But what is your question? Am I actively going out and playing Overwatch? No.
Yeah, is the progression being more paid, like not ruining like...
Are you saying
more than just playing the game?
Were people logging on just to try and get through the battle pass that they could unlock the new character, and was that adding like a meaningful unlock for them? I will say personally, when Zip was released, what was his name? Lifeweaver was released. Lifeweaver was a new support added to the game for one of the Overwatch 2 seasons. I remember seeing him in the battle pass and being like, I literally quit because I was like, fuck this, I'm not grinding the battle pass. Or not. I literally quit because characters were locked behind the battle pass. It pissed me off. I wanted to play the new content, and the game's like, no, give us some money. And I was like, I bought this game fucking 10 years ago? Almost? 8 years ago? I'm not buying it again.
My question is, like, is this change still enough to like bring it back to original Overwatch 1, I guess, progression? Or
well, they've basically announced recently that they're going to you know that they cancelled the full PvE expansion of Overwatch 2. They're like, it's okay, we're going to do those mission things that we were releasing that we were releasing for free anyway for like Halloween and stuff like that, which are pretty fun, which is why people were hyped for a full expansion of it through Overwatch 2. And now they're like, oh yeah, we're not even going to release those anymore. We're just going to focus on the PvP of Overwatch 2. So
yeah, that sucks.
Overwatch 2 kind of has no reason to exist, and this could have, what we all expected, just been a patch for Overwatch 1.
Yep.
But here we are.
Yeah. Well, you say that, but they would have to have actually made Overwatch. In my opinion, what they have done is just made Overwatch 1's content.
It's Overwatch 1, but without a tank.
And worse content unlocking, yeah.
Well, when I played Overwatch 1 from the game I purchased, I liked unlocking loot boxes to unlock more skins for my characters. But I can't do that anymore.
No. So to me, it's like, I don't know, I just feel like it's not enough. I feel like they've gone too...
Local Thunk and the Balatro dev did an AMA recently where the developer confirmed they are currently working on a mobile version of Balatro, and they will have a new announcement about this, which they will post later on Discord and Twitter. So, as a man who plays Slay the Spire religiously on my phone whenever I'm out and about and bored and do not have my Steam Deck with me, I think that releasing Balatro on the phone would consume all of my time as well. Oh, Tony, I recently found out that apparently Dicey Dungeons has an iOS version as well, so I could play Dicey Dungeons on my phone as well, which would also consume a lot of my time.
Only one gambling game at a time.
Yeah, one RNG game.
One RNG.
GOG's put out an announcement recently saying that they are teaming up with the Amazon Luna game streaming service to give you more ways to play your GOG games. So, like the Witcher series of Cyberpunk 2007 on multiple devices of your choice. We're teaming up with Amazon Luna's cloud gaming service to give you even more ways of enjoying your titles, while still keeping our mission of DRM-free gaming. What's most important is on Luna, you'll be able to play every game that you already own on GOG. There's also available on Luna. There is absolutely no requirement to purchase anything twice. You bought it once on our platform, so it's always yours as always.
Yeah, you're basically just renting a cloud computer, right?
Moreover, it works both ways. You'll be able to buy games that are available on GOG via Luna's client, and they will go straight into your GOG library.
Yeah.
So
again, you're renting a computer.
After Stadia,
what is the cost of Luna?
Yeah, after Stadia shut down, I kind of forgot Amazon's Luna game streaming service existed. I just see nothing about Luna ever. Like, I know very little about it these days.
Wait, is it £70 a year?
Yeah, I mean, how much is GeForce Now for a year? That doesn't seem that unreasonable.
No, but how many months do you have to put in before we can afford a Steam Deck? I guess it's still a few years, I guess, but I don't know. I can't. I know.
So
I can't justify that. That seems crazy to me.
If you want to sub to GeForce Now with a 4080 tier for 6 months, it's £100.
Jesus.
If you want to sub to GeForce Now with priority tier with up to 1080p resolution, that is £50 for 6 months.
I just feel like maybe save that money and buy a computer that you will always have later.
Yeah, I mean, you can download stuff. You can use Steam streaming, which now allows you to stream in 4K to another device such as a Steam Deck or anything that has. So you could stream to the phone, to the Steam mobile app, or you can stream to a smart TV through the Steam streaming app, or you can stream from an Oculus Quest from your PC through the Steam Link app. And if you want to stream non-Steam games or you want better quality, there's an app called Moonlight, which piggybacks off the old NVIDIA Game Stream API, which allows you to stream in 4K, 120 FPS, and even HDR streaming is in beta through Moonlight. I was thinking about setting up Moonlight and what's called Sunlight on my Steam Deck so I could stream Xbox Game Pass games onto my Steam Deck. From my local PC, which would be a really good way to play my Games Pass games on my Steam Deck when I want to do stuff away from my PC. Like play Persona 3 Reload when I'm on the toilet or something like that, Or putting away washing or something like that. I feel like that's 90% of what people did when they got a Wii U was oh, thank God I can finally play Wii games on the toilet. That's That's not something I do. Like, that was just a joke. But
You like
I
to
could,
share in peace.
I like to share and read. I like to shit post. I like to read Twitter and Reddit.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Is that the definition of shit posting? Okay.
yeah. I think the definition of shit posting was that the stuff you were posting was so shit that it was a shit post. But I feel like
Yeah.
most people who are shit posting are usually on the shitter. So shit posting
Yeah.
has taken on a whole nother meaning these days.
A literal shit post.
Yeah.
I guess
I
that'd be a post where no, that's something different. That'd be something different. Hold on. I guess there's three ways you could shit post.
Let's move on to Emulation Retro. Here's how the makers of the Suyu Switch emulator plan to avoid getting sued. Dev says project is in a legal gray area we are trying to work out with, where they said they're basically doing things differently and they're removing all reference to Yuzu or Tropical Haze from the source code. They're making it so you have to bring your own encryption keys. All your firmware, everything is bring your own. They're not providing that at all. I think Suyu is out in beta now. You can play the beta version of Suyu. Just as they were saying this, Tony, GitLab has confirmed it's removed Suyu, a fork of Nintendo Switch emulator Yuzu, from GitLab. So this has been taken down following a DMCA takedown request, which, when reached out to, GitLab said they will basically comply with any DMCA takedown request, but we don't know if this was DMCA takedown request was officially from Nintendo or was just a overzealous fan DMCAing on their behalf. So although this project is no longer available on GitHub or GitLab, they are available on their own website, which I think is suyu.dev. They're on their own self-hosted website. And I think they also have a Discord server. So these are the people who are carrying on Yuzu. So if you want to see, I think right now I would probably say maybe look at Regenix, because that's probably going to be the most stable one going forward in terms of legality, because this has been taken down from GitLab and GitHub, like both of those platforms so far.
But then
I would say right now, if you really want to do Switch emulation, either if it's an older game, just use the most up-to-date version of Yuzu, or just use Regenix for now, I think. Then we also have mod news. 10 years later, Dark Souls 2 is finally playable at 120 FPS thanks to modders. Dark Souls 2 Frame Rate Unlimited adds Scholar of Sin to run at higher frame rates without speed-up issues. So I was somebody who was very upset with the old frame rates, the original Dark Souls game. I really didn't enjoy how clunky it was. And then I played Sekiro and I used the frame rate unlimiter to unlock it and run it at like 165 FPS. And I'm telling you now, Souls games running at high FPS feels really fucking good. So I'm very, very happy that people are getting able to experience older Souls games at higher FPSs without any speed up issues or bugs that are added by allowing higher frame rates, which is really cool to see.
Praise the sun in higher speeds.
I also believe it's 120 FPS plus. So Dark Souls 2 4K 240 FPS coming to a game near me. Could that be the ultimate way to play Dark Souls 2? I've heard very mixed things about Dark Souls 2. I think it is the most controversial Dark Souls game in terms of some people really love it and some people really hate it. And there's also two versions of the game. There's the original, and then there's the DLC version, which adds a bunch of DLC, but also completely rebalanced the game at the same time. And some people hate it and some people like it. And this made me very confused as to which version of Dark Souls 2 I would play if I was going to purchase them. Because I got Elden Ring recently, but I was thinking about playing like the Dark Souls remastered and the original. I've heard people love Dark Souls 3, especially.
Yeah.
That's one that holds up very well.
I've had a lot of people say that, like just start with Dark Souls 3. So that's the recommendation I've seen.
I think, well, it says here that the mod runs for scholars of the First Sin, which I believe is the DLC version of it.
Right.
Oh, this doesn't link to the actual Nexus mod page of it. It just links to the Nexus mods.
the entirety of the Nexus.
If you want to get this, it's on the Nexus mods.
Google it yourself. Yeah, it's not even linking to the right game. It's just linking to the literal homepage, which I find hilarious.
Oh, 4K upscaled opening cinematic. Don't mind if I do. There was also a Dark Souls mod that came out recently that people have. It was like an original campaign.
Okay, interesting.
See, like you look here, remasters vanilla Dark Souls 2, not Scholar, by adding dynamic shadows, better textures, better. So people like really like certain like there's a people like I don't know how much it is just fans noticing the small differences and like there being like an actual big difference between the two. So
all I'm gonna say is I think there's still people like there's not even like the DLC doesn't even help. I think it's still just like start with Dark Souls 3. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the split is or what the percentage of like how many people think what. I don't.
Yeah. But yeah, that's really cool. Sekiro Frame Rate Unlocker, really cool tool. Made the game really awesome to play. And yeah, when I want to play I think I'm going to try Dark Souls at some point, whether that be Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, or Dark Souls 3. I really enjoyed Sekiro, so I might just start with Dark Souls Remastered. I might just try the Dark Souls game. Because I own the original Dark Souls. I have the original version, but it is so clunky and old at this point that I'm like, maybe I just need to get the remastered version of the original Dark Souls, right? And then more mod news, Tony. We have
my late edition mod news.
City Skylines 2 mod support. Here we go.
Yes. So yeah, I guess it's worth noting. I don't know. I think only select people have access to this, but we now know what the direction is because we didn't know even like that was going to be yet. I'll start with the to me less interesting but still like crucial for modding in general is like the asset creation and the map creation. So it's currently in one. I think in the original City Skylines it was like 2 modes. It's now just in 1 mode. So it's just asset creation, which includes maps. Currently, you can't import assets or save assets. It's only maps at the moment, but you get like a sneak peek of how it would come together. It looks quite powerful, but like hard to search for certain assets. So it looks solid. It looks like again it's in beta, so like hopefully it gets improved. And yeah, we've seen them.
My number one question is it going to be better than the Steam Workshop? And will that be because is it more powerful or is it more user friendly? Like,
I was going to get that separately. So that's unrelated to the asset creation.
Okay.
Then there's the actual Paradox mods. So this is the replacement for the Steam Workshop. To me, okay. I'm going to start off. It looks identical to how the Solaris mod stuff works, which makes me wonder why the hell can't it integrate with Steam Workshop? Because Solaris has Steam Workshop and it has mod sets that are, like mod instances that you can like download. Like you'd have a whole library of it. Then you create you then create mods. Folders, I suppose, or mod instances. So I don't know why. I don't know. I feel like people that haven't played Solaris don't know this exists. I watched a video from City Planner Plays, a YouTube channel, and it's like, oh yes, this is improved. It has all this. I'm like, yeah, but that's. I don't know. I'm gonna say it's the same, but missing some weird things.
Yeah, I had no idea Paradox had a mod launcher until I heard about City Skylines 2. So
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it's only in Solaris, and maybe in my opinion,
Stellaris had a
Crusader
workshop
V3.
though, did it or not?
Yes, that's what I'm confused with. Like, so what happened with Solaris is it has a workshop, it has a Steam workshop. You downloaded the content, you then launched the launcher from Steam, and then
Yeah.
you could then change which version you were playing and like, and then which like mod set you were playing and like what playlist you were playing, and then like even in each playlist you could then turn it off, which is the look of what the Sea Skylines 2 one is identical to what Solaris looks like. Maybe there's like differences under the hood, but it's very similar from what I can see. I don't understand what that meant. We have to have Paradox mods,
Mm.
and then it's like stuff like I was watching like the video from Sea when I plays like, oh, it will actually update. Like apparently there's a problem if you have too many mods with the Steam Workshop, it won't update mods properly. I'm just like, yes, but this is a new version. We don't know how it's going to operate. Like, for all we know, it's going to also bug out and not update things correctly. So technically, Steam Workshop also updates mods. So that to me, it's like it's in parallel.
Right.
Um, and it doesn't have comments by default. Like each mod page doesn't have comments. You can only thumbs up
That's kind
a
of
mod,
shit.
so it doesn't have a 5 star like a star rating system.
How are you
So it's
supposed
just
to
like,
know if the mod's good
okay,
or not?
how are you supposed to know if it still works or is like what you
Yeah.
actually want it to be? So yeah, I don't know. One thing you can do, which I think is cool, I don't know why you couldn't. Maybe there's a technical limitation on the Steam Workshop
Speaking
where you
of
can't do this, but
I'm
you can load an asset in game and then not have to like relaunch the game.
I was going to tangerine what you're saying about commenting on mod pages, but
Yeah.
I was playing The Quarry recently, and The Quarry has this heavy motion blur that you cannot turn off, and it was making me feel sick. And I was like, oh my god, I don't know if I can play this game. I tried Unreal Engine Unlocker to turn it off by injecting that into Unreal Engine. I couldn't get it to work. I was like, huh, this is strange. Wait a minute. The Quarry has a Nexus mod page. So I go onto it, I click on it, and it's like someone had literally made like a couple of weeks or days before I started playing the game. Like this is a year after the game's come out. Like a couple of days after playing it, they made a mod to remove motion blur. And
It's
somebody
right.
put a comment on it saying, "Yeah, this works." And I was like, "Oh, cool! Somebody's tested this
Yeah,
out and it works." Because I read the
that's
comment
so
on the
useful.
page, and
Yeah.
then I went and I
Yes.
downloaded it. I installed it. It worked flawlessly. I then left a comment saying, "Hey, thanks! I just tested
Currently
this out on
works.
my system. It currently still
Yeah.
works."
That is, yeah. I almost every mod that I've downloaded for Sea Skylines 1, I have read the comments on. Like it's or even yeah. Oh, okay. One of the negative with the Paradox mods, you can't share collections. So yes, it has like these playlists or mods, but you can't currently share it. But there's technically a workaround, which is like more awkward than the workshop version.
Right.
So, and considering, I guess at some point we're expecting a Steam Workshop update that's going to have playlists. I don't know
Yeah.
if this is considered an
That
improvement.
came out in Steam
And
Beta, was like basically like a mini
yeah, so
mod
we know
manager
it's
inside of the Steam Workshop.
yeah, so we know it's being worked on, and so man, and another thing I don't know, and this isn't necessarily like a comparison slate, because I think the Steam Workshop was a bit weird with this as well. Is like, how does it manage a third party like from the Nexus mods? Like, how does Paradox mods work with that
I
as a
have no
manager?
idea.
So yeah, to me, I'm concerned that we're just going backwards to try and keep it in an ecosystem, and it doesn't really have any positives that people think are positives. So to me, it's on par, technically better with playlists, but then it's gone set backwards on many other things. And so mm. And
Yeah.
one of the things that in the City Planner Plays video, like you pointed out, like, oh, it's very quick. I'm like, is the Steam Workshop considered slow? Because I thought it was fine. It's not
Hmm.
quick or slow. And like what I was seeing from the videos, like I didn't think that the UI is like more modern. I think maybe that's tricking people to thinking it's quicker. Maybe to me, it looked the same speed as Steam Workshop. So, and there's a lot more mods for Steam Workshop. There's very few mods for Six Guys 2 right now. So I'm not
Right.
sure about that one. I don't know. I would rather did what they did with Solaris. Personally, I
Well,
think
also, they brought
keep it
out
in
this
the theme
this
workshop.
their first DLC that people were not happy with. What's the problem with the
So
DLC?
technically, it's the second DLC. The
Okay.
game launched with DLC. No,
Classic.
people are not happy with it. There's like so the main game.
Yep.
One of its biggest problems is that there's not enough asset variation. This is a $10 DLC. I don't know what it is, and I think it's like maybe like £9 DLC with like 104 assets, which the way the game works is not very many assets, and 4 trees, which is also controversial, and no maps. So in Cities Skylines 1, all extra trees were added to the base game as an update, even if it was like really for the DLC.
Oh,
Which
okay.
means you can't create maps with those trees. And like so now, like, oh, I want to make a map with these trees. Oh, that means a
Tree
dependency
locked.
requires that DLC, which is kind of dumb.
Yeah, that's kind of shit.
So it's like double the price of like map assets from the previous game with less stuff in. It doesn't.
Well, they had to release it at that time, otherwise the company, they wouldn't have made it. And they have to price the
Well,
DLC this expensive to survive.
the pricing is expensive, stupid, but they literally had to release it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have. Like, I don't know if you remember, like the deluxe pack.
Right.
Like it had by yesterday, they had to release this pack as DLC. Otherwise, they would have fallen short of what they promised.
Mm.
So I don't know. It just seems like more like
Are you
maybe
still
don't promise DLCs.
are you still playing City Skylines 2? Have you moved on to something else?
I haven't. I've been watching City Skylines 2. I have not played it. I was actually thinking about playing it again still. So they've been fixing simulation issues, but there's still simulation
Right.
issues and like. Yeah, there's still some issues with like taxes and like land value stuff basically, and there's a weird issue at the moment where that hadn't been fixed. There was an update recently, they haven't fixed it yet, where children can like move into a house without parents and then complain about the rent because they haven't
What?
got a job. Yeah, there's some weird stuff like that still.
Is that a
So
bug or a feature?
I think there's definitely a bug.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, there's still some bugs that need to be fixed, and like it still seems like they're just trying to fix stuff, and like now is not the time to release DLC, in my opinion, especially lackluster DLC. Oh, there's other DLC as well. That the first radio station DLC has been released, which is slightly more
Not
expensive
Africa
than the City
Radio.
Skylines 1 version. I think it's like relaxation radio
Right.
station or something.
Wouldn't it be cool if you could actually connect to like real radio stations from within the game and just listen to those?
Well, I mean, the mod support is in beta, so
Is that a mod
Yes,
that exists for the first game?
there's a mod already in the original game and in the beta, like for like custom created radio stations.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could like live connect to stuff, but maybe there's one that connects to like YouTube playlists or something. I don't know.
Cool. Right. Should we move on
But
to
it's in a
any
weird position
finishing?
to this kind of thing.
Yeah. Should we move on to Steam news because we got a big
Yeah.
one coming in? Steam Families has been completely changed. I think for the better for the most part.
Okay.
In today, currently in beta, Steam Family Sharing and Steam Family View have been updated to a single Steam Family where you can have a family of up to 5 members, which you can manage your family from your Steam client, your mobile device, or web browser. So, going back in history, me and my brother, we used to share a Steam account because we both wanted to play Counter-Strike Source, which came with our copy of Half-Life 2 that we had, and we would just constantly kick each other off, and that was awful. Then, as we got older, they had Steam Family Sharing, which was cool because if you logged into your Steam account on their PC, then you could set it up to share the games between each other. And that was cool. But the problem with that is if I was using my brother's games or he wanted to use his own games or he wanted to play one of my games and I wanted to play one of my games at the same time, we'd kick each other off, basically. So you basically had to be using the games when the other person's not using it. It creates this awkward situation where you're like, oh, well, I don't want to have to kick them off sort of thing, or them kick me off sort of thing. Now with this update, it's really easy to add someone to your family, but families are your family, right? They're geo-restricted. So you can only invite people that live in your country. So if you have family that lives overseas, they won't be able to connect to your same family, Steam family. Then you can currently have 5 people, and you can assign them as adults or children. And children will work differently, and I'll get into that in a bit. But the really cool thing about this update is you can play a different game from somebody's library while they play a different game. So if I say, for example, I have, I don't know, Halo Master Chief Collection in my Steam library, and Tony let's say I share with Tony, right? And you're like, oh, I'm going to play that, right? And let's say you had Cyberpunk, and I was like, oh, I want to play Cyberpunk while you're playing that. I could play that as long as we didn't want to play the exact same game. If I wanted to play Halo the Master Chief Collection at the same time, that's where the problem is.
We both would have to have it.
If we both own Halo the Master Chief Collection, so we have 2 copies of the game, we can both play our respective copies at the same time. And it would work like that for multiplayer as well. And it depends how many people own the copy of the game. So let's take a multiplayer game. Let's take Call of Duty, for example. If I don't own Call of Duty, but you own Call of Duty, and then we have another friend like Michael owns Call of Duty, right? He's in our Steam family. If me and you both load up Call of Duty and want to play multiplayer together, we can, because in that family,
he wasn't playing it.
In that family, we have 2 copies of that game, and Michael can go and play whatever. He can go off and play the Rusty Lake adventure point-and-click games, right?
Which
I think is a really cool way to do it.
Based on like a number of copies, I think that's the best, almost the perfect way of doing it.
Which is really, because I think that was one of the biggest holding back factors of the Steam family sharing, was that you couldn't be playing a different Steam game at the same time. And I think this just makes way too much sense. Like, at any point, I could, lend a family member my Steam account and they could be playing another game. It's something I could realistically be doing anyway. And it's Valve being more like, well, you own these games. You should be able to lend one of your family members a copy of a game you own, sort of thing, even though, Steam licenses are not the same as owning something, right? But
pretty close, but
yeah. Parental controls, I think, are really important. With like a lot of people these days have kids that they want to share their Steam games with, but then of course we've just had the beta of the private games, so you can stop games from being family shared or even shown from your library that you may not want it. So like, say you have a really violent game, you may not want to have your kid be able to have access to that game, sort of thing, from your library.
Maybe you don't. Maybe you own Senran Kagura and you don't want it to be shared with Michael, or maybe I own it and I don't want to share it with you and you're a child.
That's the thing. Like, if I was to say, for example, merge my Steam account with Tony, I would like Tony to remove most of his games from being in my Steam library.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, basically, you can limit how long your kids play each game. You can see how long they play. You can restrict access to the Steam store, the community, the friends chat. You can view their playtime reports. They can request games. So usually kids will be like, oh, I want to get this game for Christmas. You can say like, Wheatley has requested the purchase of Helldivers 2, so you just go approve, and then it'll charge your account, and then it'll send them a copy of the game. And because they're inside of your Steam family, then everybody in the Steam family will be able to play that copy of the game. And if it's multiplayer, then you can buy multiple copies and play together. But yeah, that's really cool. I should mention, you can join a Steam family immediately, but there is a 1-year restriction on joining another family. So they were like, we understand families change, so you may have a different significant other or have a falling out with a family member. But if you do leave a Steam Family, it will take a year until you're allowed to join another one. This is just to prevent abuse, right? Because this could be easily
I guess
abused.
legal piracy otherwise, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'll just quickly change constantly.
Well, that's my biggest concern with this. I'm like, this is too good of a deal in terms of like the Steam Family sharing thing, where I'm like, I feel like most people are going to use this with a few friends because of how unrestrictive it is now. And then I think a lot of devs, because every dev that is opted into Steam Family sharing is automatically grandfathered into new Steam Family sharing. And I think if devs look at this and go, wait a minute, people aren't buying as many copies of games, they may actually start removing their games from Steam Family sharing if this becomes too prevalent. So I think Steam has done good jobs to stop abuse, but whether the general use would be strong enough to make devs want to actually drop out of using the Steam Family sharing, we'll have to wait and see. What do you think about it? Is this a feature you think you would use? Who's in your Steam family, Tony?
Yeah, I don't know if I would use it, but I think that's I think that's just a me problem. I think if I was like objectively look at this, I should. But
I used to share it with my brother because he had games that I didn't have. Like I think he owns like Cyberpunk, for example, that I don't have. Like there was several games I found in my brother's library. I was like, I don't have this, but it's cool that I can play this.
But I could see like housemates was like, yeah, let's just share our Steam. Like I could see this being less of a. I can see families doing it as well. I'm just saying, like, I can see this being like pseudo families or gaming families sort of thing, also using this because it's that good. But yeah, it depends, like, how will this affect sales and like, or the potential to affect sales in certain developers' eyes. Like, we don't want to be a part of that. But
yeah,
at the same time, I don't know. I could see very heavy story single player things not wanting to be used as like wanting to buy your own copy.
So one thing I didn't actually think about was I was watching the Nerd Nest podcast with some gaming handheld guys, and one of the guys, Bill, was saying like, every time my son wants a game from Steam, he actually asked me to get out my credit card and purchase it on his account instead of gifting it to him because he wants the Steam points from the purchase. He actually uses the Steam points in the Steam Point shop. So my question would be, I actually have no idea, how does Steam points work if you purchase a child?
Well, but I guess the way they're doing it is the child is requesting ownership of it, and then the parent buys it for them is what it looks like there. So my
current understanding would be that the parent that purchased the game would get the Steam points. So
they actually paid for it, right?
Yeah. So we'll have to wait to see when this is like fully out and stuff, how Steam Points works. But this is currently out in beta, so you can opt in the Steam beta to use this, and every single person in your Steam family must opt into the beta, but we'll have to wait and see how this turns out with the full release to Steam families, whether we have devs pulling out, we have, considerations for Steam points and stuff like that. But I think it's a really cool feature, and I think it's really cool that Valve is just constantly updating their stuff. I know.
Yeah, I get people get the impression like, Valve just like rests on the laurels and they're just like silent, but that's not true. They constantly update.
Well, I think Steam. Like recently, this came out and Tim Sweeney was like, Steam had to do this because of the pressure of the Epic Games Store, and I'm like, I don't think so.
They've literally been like, they've never stopped updating Steam. Like, even when like, what is Steam gonna do? What's Valve gonna do when now Epic Games is launched? And what do you mean they've continuously update stuff?
Yeah.
So I don't know. To me, it's just a continuation of that. Maybe pressure from other platforms has done it, but like they didn't really do anything at the time. So
the old Steam family was really clunky and required like physical login. Like the fact that you can manage this stuff from the client, the mobile, or web browser is going to make it so user-friendly and easy to do.
But almost everyone I knew also like did sort of use the old family share, so it was, I think, clunkier but still like usable. And now it's just like, okay, this is really good. If there's no bugs or any other problems that.
Well, when this comes out, I'll have to either speak to my brother or find my 4 favorite friends and maybe start a family together. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, because I'm somebody who has a very large library, so it'd make a lot of sense to share my games with people.
Yeah, I just feel like the social meta is going to be like you don't have like actual like family below you, I suppose. Like you don't have any offspring.
Well,
Like what
you know
happens
what,
with
Tony? We
people
make
with
our own
big libraries
family.
just merging it? Yeah,
I mean, technically, if I own these games on CD, I could take the CD and hand them to my friend, and he could. You remember when your friend used to lend you a game?
yeah. Did
Like
that
I,
hurt sales? I guess technically it did, but man, like, should we be encouraging not doing that? But I guess this is
I've
more
been playing a lot
permanent
of games on game.
sharing.
I've been playing a lot of game on Game Pass, and I'm not purchasing the games after playing them on Game Pass. So, is
Yeah,
playing a game through a subscription service hurting game sales? Probably. I don't know. How much of an
probably, but they're
impact does
getting
it have?
paid by the. Yeah, we don't know. I suppose that's up to the people involved with those.
Yeah. Let's move on to Blunders. Oh, I don't know if you saw this. Apex Legends streamers surprised to find aimbot and other hacks added to their PC in the middle of a major competition. So, what happened recently was there was an Apex Legends tournament going on, and thanks to a remote code execution, hackers were basically able to inject hacks into pro players' games through the game, basically, which is insane.
Right, interesting. Yeah, that's not great.
Basically, people were like playing, and then
Pretty disconcerting.
hacks were added to their game, and they're like, "Well, I've got to fucking leave because hacks have been added to my game against my will." And
Yeah,
basically, people were even because this game runs the original Source engine, if you believe that. It's like a modified version of that, and it also runs Easy Anti Cheat. So people were worried about this potentially being injected into Easy Anti Cheat and affecting every single competitive game with Easy Anti Cheat inside of it, right?
yeah, which is a lot of people playing on those platforms.
But yeah. So Apex Legends streamers were warned to perform a clean OS reinstall as soon as possible after the hacks. The hacks may have been spread
That's
through the Apex Legends.
an insane recommendation.
Imagine you're playing a
have to
game
do.
and it's like, well, actually, you may have to reinstall your fucking computer because someone's
Yeah,
remote code executed. It hacks into your game system, and we can't guarantee they're gone. So you have to reinstall your computer. That's
yeah, that
nuts.
seems
So
silly, but
Respawn's put out an update saying on Sunday a few professional Apex Legends players' accounts were hacked during an ALGS event. Games and player security are our highest priority, which is why we paused the competition to address the issue immediately. Our teams have deployed the first of a layered series of updates to protect the Apex Legends player community and create a secure experience for everyone. Easy Anti-Cheat put out a statement saying, "We've investigated recent reports of potential remote code execution issues with Easy Anti-Cheat. At this time, we are confident there is no remote code execution vulnerability within Easy Anti-Cheat being exploited. We will continue to work closely with our partners for a follow-up to support needed." So it seems like this is an Apex Legends issue. Yeah. And I do know specifically for a while, for some older Source Engine games, there was a remote code execution exploit in the game that had to be patched out by Valve in order to get rid of it. So if this is running on Source and hasn't had those mitigations added to it, it's possible because of the age of the engine, they use this vulnerability to get in specifically through Apex's version of the Source Engine.
Not ideal, but that's still probably the least bad.
Yeah, if this is specifically affecting Apex Legends, the game, rather than an easy anti-cheat that is very ubiquitous with a lot of multiplayer games. Like, I've installed easy anti-cheat like 100 times over to play a lot of multiplayer games. Like, people were very hesitant about kernel-level anti-cheat. And, Tony, imagine a kernel-level anti-cheat getting infected. That would mean you had a kernel-level infection in your computer.
I almost feel like I don't know. I feel like we almost have to like look at like this, like we almost like security people to look at this architecturally like from the ground up for future stuff. Because
Like we have
yeah, with
kernel
like
level, like we have
considerations
easy
need to be made.
anti-cheat, Battle Eye,
Yeah,
Vanguard from Riot Games for Valorant and League of Legends. Oh, it's just being added to League of Legends now. So people are saying, well, how do we know that this kernel level anti-cheat isn't going to inject, malicious
yeah.
software into my computer?
I just feel like we need to, because like we've had like slow evolution and development of like Wi-Fi. I guess it was like was that, yeah, it was an LTT video recently. Was
Yeah,
that
where they're
talking
hacking
about
into
like
people's
the how
Wi-Fi through a van,
yeah,
sort of
but it
thing.
was like a brief explanation of like how, like it was like, and I remember this from TV shows at the time. It was like, oh yes, the new bad guy is using Wi-Fi to hack stuff, or they get in like use
The
it to like
Wi-Fi hacker.
circumnavigate the law. So yeah, so maybe we just need to like slow develop this and like maybe considerations of kernel
Mm.
levels not being the default, but I guess that was always been
I think
the necessary evil for the longest
the
time.
problem is kernel level anti-cheat is needed in modern day to stop
At,
hackers
at the
because
moment, but is it the only way to do it?
is it the only way that
Because I
potentially
think it's,
not, but I think right now I don't know how
I think
many
right now, yeah,
I
I
think
think we need to stop and have a think about like what is actually necessary, like how to actually like create an
I don't know.
architecture that is
Do you
safe
remember
for
the
everyone.
Do you remember the MSI monitor that was using AI
Oh
to
yeah.
basically tell you where stuff was, and it wasn't going to be detectable by anti-cheat because it was just
Well,
running on your monitor?
my opinion is because like that is using the game itself to as an external tool. So that's yeah. I generally think that it's a part of the problem where it's like we need to just like really like from a security point of view and a intentions of what is intentional, what is actually thought about
You look at
from the
games
dev's
like
point of view.
Escape from Tarkov or
Yeah.
Apex or Call of Duty is full of like people hacking
Is there
constantly.
Yeah, is there maybe a better engine or a better system that we need to have? I think like we just need to like stop and well, stop without
I
stopping, I suppose.
remember
Like
when
actually think about this.
I remember when Fall Guys launched, and I was like, okay, it's a silly party game, but one in like 3 games I played at launch, I had someone
Yeah,
in the game who would suddenly teleport up into the sky and then fly over to the
yeah.
finish line and finish in first place. And I was like,
Just ruin
okay,
it for everyone.
one in
Yeah.
3 games I have to leave because someone's cheating. And that game
Yep.
didn't have anti-cheat at launch. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think it's impossible to launch a multiplayer game these days, no matter how unserious and how ridiculous it would be for someone to cheat
Oh
in
yeah,
that game without an
absolutely.
anti-cheat.
It's crazy like how much people want to win even when it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Or even if it ruins the fun for even themselves. It is crazy what people are willing to do just to win.
Yeah. But
But I don't know. I think we need to like seriously like just like start, not even start again, but like really like rethink and like what is necessary, like what do we need to actually improve. Is there a way to do this without kernel level involvement?
well,
Because if
people
that
are
does
saying like
become compromised, that's terrible.
Apex Legends has Linux support, which lets it run through um, the Steam Deck, which is really
Hmm.
cool. One of the big problems with that is almost all Apex Legends cheats are now exclusively made on Linux because it is by
Yeah,
far the easiest way to get through the anti-cheat system because that
yeah,
version gets
absolutely.
through the anti-cheat because it's running on Linux.
Because Linux
Um,
doesn't allow kernel level or anything other than Linux itself. So yeah.
which is a shame because we anti
I
it's like Destiny 2 is like we will not let this game run on Linux, and part of me's like that
yeah.
sucks. So many people would like to play Destiny on their Steam Decks, their Linux PC, but on the other hand, I'm like, I kind of get it.
It
Like it could
I understand
potentially
that.
just ruin the game in a lot of ways.
Is this another thing where Valve has to spend resources because they want Linux gaming to be a thing? They have to spend a lot of
Valve
resources to try and figure this out.
anti-cheat, kernel level Linux
Oh,
anti-cheat.
actually without kernel level. That's what I mean. There has to be anti-cheat without kernel
I don't
level.
know how they're gonna do it though. It just seems like an
I don't know how
impossible
it's going to do it
feat.
at the moment, but I think it's going to have to be thought about because it's the way Linux works.
You also have to remember that I think it's Easy Anti-Cheat is owned by Epic Games, so they have no rush to get that stuff running
They don't
on
care.
their Steam.
No. That's what I mean. I think it has to. Is this another thing where Valve has to solve this for Linux and then propagate the idea to the entire industry? Like I think that's what we need at this point.
Let's move on to tech news, and we have AMD announcing FSR 3.1 at GDC. So FSR 3 available and upcoming in 40 games, I think. So this is their new naming scheme. FSR going forward will be named FSR 3 or 3.1 will be the non-frame generation version, and then frame gen or will be its own separate thing.
Right. That's okay. That as it should be, I suppose.
But so they've done upscaling image quality improvements, so less flickering and shimmering and fizziness around objects and motions, less ghosting. FSR 3 upscaling will now be decoupled from frame generation. So the way it worked previously was if you had, let's say, for example, an XeSS 6 backwards Intel card, like an Arc GPU, or you had an older NVIDIA card, like a 2030 series that didn't have frame generation on it, in order to use frame generation, you would have to not use DLSS as your upscaling method. You would have to switch to FSR in order to use frame generation. Now what this is going to allow is with a 20 or 30 series RTX card, you will be able to use DLSS as your upscaling method, and then you'll be able to frame gen on top of that, which means it's going to be a much better native image quality with from the deep learning from the AI upscaled DLSS,
so
and then
decoupled frame gen from
while allowing you
image.
to use frame gen.
I think that's the correct way to do that. That makes a lot of sense.
But I'm guessing the reason they're doing this now is because they're going, hey guys, look, FSR upscaling is getting massive improvements, especially they were showing off at like 1080p, like Ratchet and Clank is going to be the first game to get this, which from the images I saw looked pretty good in terms of like how much less flickering and shimmering it had, upscaling from I think it was performance. 1080p output resolution, FSR performance mode, which is like worst case scenario for DLSS. Worst case scenario for FSR 2.2 because 1080p, very low internal resolution and very low output resolution. You're just asking for like a blurry mess a lot of the time. But I think the results they're getting now are looking really good. And I think what's happening now is AMD is like hoping that these NVIDIA 2300 series people are going to look at this and go, wait a minute, FSR 3 upscaling is actually really good now. And I don't need to buy a really expensive card. I can just get an AMD card, which has good rasterization performance. And I can get like similar or better rasterization performance at a cheaper price with good upscaling. Maybe I'm going to switch over to AMD next generation, which
I'm wondering as well, like the fact that it's even decoupled just means the development of these features now is easier to develop in itself instead of it being, this is set into this version has to have this.
I would love to see Immortals of Avian running with this, because that game, especially on the consoles, is so shimmery and ghosty all the time. Like anytime you move the character's arm in that game, it looks awful. Let's have a look.
There's quite a few games like that, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. Yeah, it's an improvement for sure. I'm glad that.
Warhammer Space Marine 2 is going to have the FSR 3.1 support. I can't wait for that game to come out.
When that game comes out, I'm glad it will have that support.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait for that. Forspoken's listed.
I'm looking forward for your monitor to experience Space Marine 2.
I can't wait. I've been warhammering it up with Bolt Gun and Dark Tide, so I'm ready for the next Warhammer game.
You couldn't wait, so you played those games
I
instead.
couldn't and wouldn't.
Yeah.
Oh, Immortals of Avium. Okay, so yeah, we are going to be able to see. So I think probably the major conceit right now for AMD is where's the AI upscaled image quality? Like
ray tracing and AI is like definitely like worse than NVIDIA.
Well, like they have dedicated AI chips on the new it's the 7000 series, right? They have AI stuff on there, but it's like a decoupled chip that's not really, it's not like tensor cores, for example, right? It works slightly differently.
Yeah, it's not. Architecturally very different.
But they've basically done nothing with that AI stuff in terms of the consumer gamer market.
I assume as well this is like very important for how games and engines are going to use it, especially for like console games.
Because they have dedicated, because for NVIDIA side to use tensor cores for AI work and ray tracing work, right? Because that's AI work, right? But for AMD, they have what's called ray accelerators for ray tracing work, and then they have like a separate AI chip that they've just added. But we just really haven't seen them do anything with it yet. So I think AMD always feels like they're a step behind NVIDIA just constantly when it comes to features, right?
Yeah, but
I would love to see FSR. I would love to see AI upscaled FSR. Like, I think that's going to be. I think this looks amazing from the example we've seen from Ratchet and Clank. But when we see this in terms of games, like we know, like from the leaked PS5 stuff, we know that the PS5 Pro, Sony has been working on their own like AI upscaled technology. That's gonna. I think they said that they were going to use it to. Rumor speculation, by the way. Take 1080p and upscale it to 4K using AI, which should be like probably a good way to do it. Like what I do in a lot of games is with DLSS with 4K, I take DLSS performance mode, which takes a 1080p image and turns it into 4K through AI, and it looks really good. So I think that is the way forward to go.
Yeah. It's good to see that they're trying to catch up with NVIDIA, yeah.
And then we'll move on to
definitely needed.
Business news. Saber Interactive to split from Embracer Group. Embracer Group has entered an agreement to sell Saber Interactive to Beacon Interactive, a company controlled by Saber Interactive, co-founded Matthew Kark, for a purchase price of $247 million US. The company has announced. Saber Interactive will retain the following subsidiary studios after the split. All Saber Interactive branded studios: Digic, Fractured Byte, Madhead Games, New World Interactive, Nimble Giant Entertainment, Sandbox Strategies, Slipgate Ironworks, and 3D Realms. Embracer Group will retain the following Saber Interactive subsidiary studios: 34 Big Things, 4A Games, Aspir, Beamdog, Damage Studios, Shiver, Snapshot Games, Tripwire Interactive, Tuxedo Labs, and Zen Studios. The studios will be integrated in other parts of Embracer Group in the coming periods. Saber Interactive will be granted the rights to acquire 4A Games and Zen Studios within a certain time period, but if it decides to do so, long-term license and publishing rights to all current and future games in the Metro franchise will continue to be held by Embracer Group's subsidiary PlayOn, formerly Koch Media. PlayOn was, if you've forgotten there. Oh, sorry, Koch Media. I might have mispronounced it there. Koch Media. The pipeline of Embracer Group retained studios includes the next AA games from 4A Games, an unannounced concept AAA game, as previously announced AAA game based on a major license, a new AAA multiplayer shooter based on controlled intellectual property, a new AA game based on an Asmodee intellectual property, a new AA game from Teardown. AA game from 34 Things based on intellectual property. Killing Floor 3, post-launch support of Teardown, the full upcoming pipeline and backlog from Zen Studios, Aspir, and Tripwire Interactive. So yeah. Then we have Xbox has reached an agreement with Crash Bandicoot Spyro dev Toys for Bob for their next game exclusive. Toys for Bob, known for handling Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, is now working with Microsoft on their first game since going independent. So they said, working forward, they wanted to work with Microsoft on a game, and it seems like they're working on it. And my fingers, please let Toys for Bob make a new Spyro game for the love of God. The Spyro Reignited trilogy is fucking awesome. Please let them make a new Spyro game. That shit is epic.
Yeah.
Speaking of epic, the Epic Game Store is coming to iOS and Android. If you remember, Apple was like, we're going to delete Apple's developer account for no reason. And then the EU's like, wait a minute, we're going to investigate that. And then like, just kidding, we have reinstated the
We will not be
Epic
doing that for no
Apple
reason.
account. And yep, it seems like thanks to the EU ruling, the iOS store now has to allow new third-party stores on their store, and it seems like Epic is adding their own store, so you can now play Fortnite again on iOS.
I know we focus a lot on like it comes to iOS and like, oh, Android is already allows that, but I think this is also like almost forcing it to continue on Android. I think there was intent to like try and lock it down, or at least make it harder on Android. So it's good news.
Then we have Tim Sweeney emailed Gabe Newell calling Valve "you assholes" over Steam policies, to which Valve's chief operating officer replied internally, "You mad, bro?" Question mark. I just think it's hilarious. Yeah. This is real.
Okay.
I love that the image they show in the article is just Gabe Newell chilling on his super yacht in fucking New Zealand, just not giving a fuck. He's playing on his Steam Deck and he's playing with his knife collection. Okay. I think fanboying video game developers, publishers, and studios is kind of cringe, and I call people out for like Xbox and Sony console wars and insane Switch fans. I kind of have to acknowledge my own bias that I am kind of a huge fan of Valve and Steam, and I have to understand that this is a company and they do not care about people individually for the most part. They will always care about profits, everything else. But I still think that Gabe Newell is an admirable person generally, and I think this is fucking hilarious. That is just what I'm going to say on the matter. I think this is fun.
I think from my point of view, like I don't think Valve, like I think that Valve has problems, but I don't think in terms of like Epic versus Valve, like I don't think Epic's point of view holds water in my opinion. So
yeah,
and I'm trying to be objective with that. So I don't know. Take that as you will as well. So
there was a news article, I can't remember what it was. It's where a bunch of Valve employees got together and realized they were more efficient than most like tech companies. I can't remember the exact.
Like in Valve.
Yeah. I can't remember the specific thing. I was trying to. Don't worry about it. Let's move on to future game show. We've got some interesting trailers I wanted to show off. First one here I want to show off is called Holston, which is kind of like a survival horror / driving / top-down shit. It's really interesting. Are you watching the trailers as well?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think we've seen this briefly before, but I think this might be an extended trailer. Like aesthetically, I think it looks amazing. But then when you see like the gameplay switch, when you go from like aesthetically, this looks phenomenal, like super stylized, like Resident Evil, like Silent Hill style stuff, and it's like,
yeah, that's very Resident Evil.
Yeah, and then you have like the idea of these spreading plants, and then they're like look like they're spreading inside the driving section as well, almost as if you have to escape them. So you go from like driving to top down to like third person over the shoulder, like aiming sort of thing. Like this game looks like it's doing a lot of really interesting stuff.
I am like left-handed characters, so the right-handed mouse play makes more sense. Are they doing that?
I don't know. That's not something I picked up on. Was he left-handed?
I don't know. It looked like when he's holding the gun. But I could be misinterpreting like the way, like the.
Oh, when he's using two hands on it.
I'm trying to think now, like how other games do it. I'm just trying. It looked different to me, so I'm interpreting that as like left-handed. But
I think he's right-handed. I think
is
you
that
would, as,
right-handed still?
if you're
He's still
right-handed, you would
right-handed.
have your
Yeah.
finger on the trigger, right? Which would be because
Is
he's
it just
holding a
because you're?
he's holding a pump shotgun, right? And his right
Yeah. Is it just
finger's on
because
the
he's
trigger, and
pointing the other
his left
way?
hand is on the pump.
Right. Okay.
I
That
think
makes
he's
sense.
right-handed. Anyway, then we have Void brought, which is like a voidy 2D Metroidvania game. It looks really cool. I think a lot of these games I picked, I was like, these look really aesthetically really good. Obviously, that's
Yeah.
all you can really see from trailers or even gameplay trailers. You can be like, oh, this looks really fun. But I think generally this looks like really smooth and fun, and I'm a big fan of the Metroidvania genre. So I think I'm going to be interested to try this one out.
Does seem very Hollow Knighty in terms of
Yeah,
movement, right?
looks really good. Yeah. And then we have Entoria, the Last Song. Souls-like, where you play as a mass warrior trapped in eternal play, coming to PC and PlayStation on August 21st. I just think this one again looked really cool. I think I really like the aesthetics, and I think like graphically it looks really cool as well. Of course, we've got some gameplay as well. But yeah, it does look that very like Souls-like. I feel like a lot of games these days are like, it's a Souls-like game. I feel like that's a very popular thing to say. Whether like every game is a Souls-like game is another question to be had.
Yeah, I think over time, like FromSoft games have really influenced a lot of developers, I want to say. So yeah, I guess that has a big impact. I
So
really
that
like the particles, like the red fiery look. That looks really
yeah,
cool.
I think it's really really cool. Next up, we have Industria 2, Tony. I was watching this live, and I watched this, and my first thing I said was Half-Life Alyx question mark, because I was like, I had no idea what this was. So I was like, this looks
Right.
exactly like Half-Life Alyx in terms of like, you remember that scene where you're walking, the Half-Life Alyx trailer, you're walking down and there's a brick wall and a bookcase and there's a combine going past and you pull out a shotgun as Alex. And I just remember that scene. I was like, wait a minute, this looks so much like Half-Life Alyx in terms of how it looks. It like specifically in this scene as well.
I mean, yeah, you know more about obviously Half-Life a lot more than I do.
So,
But, yeah,
but then I was like, wait a minute, this is Industria 2. So this is Industria 1 was like a spiritual successor to Half-Life 2. And then this game looks very much like Half-Life Alyx Industria 2. So I think this dev is like very heavily inspired by like the Half-Life games. And I think just watching the trailer as like a Half-Life fan, I immediately picked up on the connections between the two games. And I think this looks really, really cool. I really liked the demo of the first Industria game, and I think I own the full game, but I haven't gone through and played it all yet. But excited to see more for Industria 2, because I think it's cool to see the devs are working on a sequel, and that it's in a different style as well, I would say. It looks more slow-paced, and it looks more like Unreal Engine 5-y, I would say, than the first game. Like it looks a lot. It has a lot more of that. What was that game that looked really realistic in Unreal Engine 5? That was like a cop thing. What was it called? Engine 5 game. Let me look it up. Ultra realistic first person body cam game. It kind of reminds me of this one. They have like the blurred faces and the camera quality and stuff, and the free look aim and stuff like that.
Yeah, is that...
What was this game called? Unrecorded. It reminds me of Unrecorded in some ways.
Okay. Is that released? Is that... I can't remember.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
there was a demo showed off, and people were like, "This is fake. This looks too realistic." And then the dev showed
I
off
remember
the project's file and just flew around it and was like, "Nope, this is real." But I don't think he's released it fully
talking
yet.
about and like, oh, what is this like? How I mean, we were discussing like how games should and shouldn't feel, sort of things.
Yeah.
But...
Well, I think like the body cam and the free aim stuff will make it look really cool. I think it'll make it awful to play though. Like, I don't think I would enjoy playing an FPS game with like free look aim and gun shooting and very slow movement sort of thing. The Industria 2 page is up, which is cool to see.
Yeah.
Tales of Iron 2, Whiskers of Winter, and what I'm about to say will make no sense to you if you're watching Muted like me. Geralt of Mouseria? Question mark?
What?
So, immediately I'm watching this trailer, I'm like, it's a bunch of rats fighting, and I'm like, wait a minute. That's fucking Geralt of Rivia. Like, what's going on? So apparently, because I looked up the first game, because I was like, okay, it's the second game. They've made a game before. I think most of the reviews of the game were like, yeah, it's a rat Metroidvania that's narrated by Geralt. It's fucking awesome. Buy it. So I was like, oh, okay, that sounds pretty cool. But it seems like they made a sequel to it, and Geralt's voice actor is back. He's not officially Geralt in the game. It's just everyone famously knows the voice actor of Geralt from the Witcher series,
Geralt,
right? Yeah.
Yep.
But I think the way it plays out is it is like a Metroidvania action game with like a fantasy setting with rats and bats and creatures and stuff like that. I think it looks really cool. So that was one I picked out and thought was like, this is pretty cool. And then it's coming to PC and consoles. And then Tendembra Somnia. Again, looks another game that looks really cool, and then I played it and I was like, I don't think I want to play this again. He even goes into when he's talking about the game, he even goes and said how he was inspired by Faith from New Blood Studios, which we did a spotlight on, if you remember. The Mortis.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But he goes and he shows like the behind the scenes of how they actually like physically filmed all of the FMV stuff, which I think is really cool. But yeah,
I mean, it's cool. It still looks creepy even with the behind the scenes. So, okay.
I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? I just wish the gameplay loop was something I was more interested in / better. So
yeah, I wonder what Yahtzee Croshaw would think of this.
Does he like point and click stuff?
Yeah, he likes a certain type of point and click anyway.
What was his game called? Mogworld? Something like that?
Oh, God. I keep forgetting he has a game.
He has several games.
I guess so, yeah. The main game. Yeah.
Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, apparently, you know, Yahtzee famously hates every game. Apparently, he played Persona and really liked it as well. So I was like, oh, okay. I guess it's not just me who's like, I probably wouldn't like this, and then goes in and plays it, and it's like, oh, actually, this game's really good. Anyway, you can check us out, youtube.com at Everything In Between podcast, twitch.tv/Scorn if you want to watch live, and at Scorn2000 on Twitter if you want to follow us there. Shows.ocast.com/everything-in-between-podcast. There will be links to Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you want to listen to the audio-only version, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.